Good evening, everyone. Tim Martin, Chairman of the ZBA. Welcome to the September 1st meeting. The hour being 7:10. I open the meeting. We have, I first want to announce we have a new member tonight. Christopher Metcalf has just joined the ZBA. I want to welcome him to the board. Good to have you aboard. We have 4 public hearings scheduled for tonight. The first one is 228 Dedham Street. I believe they've asked for a continuance?
Continuance, yes.
Okay.
I make a motion, we make a continuance to October 20th at 7 p.m. for that hearing.
I second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Our next hearing tonight is 5 Hanover Street. We'd be happy to hear from that applicant. If you want to join us up here, that'd be wonderful.
And I'm going to read the notice of hearing. Notice of hearing is hereby given in accordance with Chapter 48 of Massachusetts General Laws and any amendments thereto, that a public hearing is scheduled to be held by the Zoning Board of Appeals on September 1st, 2021 at 7:05 p.m. in room 124 of the Norfolk Town Hall, 1 Liberty Lane, Norfolk, Mass. 02056. Brenham Handyman Remodeling Incorporated and Falcon Improvements LLC has requested a variance to allow the construction of a single-family dwelling with a 30-foot front yard setback instead of a required 50 feet setback in accordance with Section 10 of Chapter 48 of the Massachusetts General Laws and as amended in Section E1B of the Norfolk zoning bylaws. The property is located at 5 Hanover Street, Assessors Map 7, Block 6, Lot 45 in the R2 zoning district.
Thank you. Welcome.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Edward Cannon, on behalf of the applicants, Falcon Improvements LLC and Bremen Handyman and Remodeling, Inc. I'm joined tonight by James Neva from Dunham McKenzie. Nick Rossini from my office has been helpful. And then we have Monica Colazzo, the manager of Falcon Improvements, and then Mauricio Bremerman, president of Bremen Handyman and Remodeling, Inc., along with his wife, Elizabeth Bremerman. So we're all here this evening. So thank you for this opportunity. Would you be kind enough to put the satellite shot up for me, please? So this is an application for a variance, but I would like to say sort of at the outset that this is the step 1 in the process. So we don't expect to be able to close the hearing, give you everything definitively tonight, but we have to start someplace, and I'll explain to you why that is and why we're going through this process. So just if I may, the property, here's, oh, the pointer doesn't point on the screen. Wow, okay. So Main Street, Mill's over here, Hanover's over to Myrtle Street. The lot we're talking about is actually just about there, and then there's another lot which will come into the discussion right next to it, okay? So these are 2 lots that the town acquired through tax taking, and my clients purchased, if you could please show the one with the lots, it becomes a little bit easier to see.
Just a little lag.
Here we go, perfect. So the applicants own lot number 5, and so that's what they have currently. The 2 lots that the town owned and sold were this lot and this lot. Both lots perked, so the town sold them as buildable lots.
Sorry to interrupt. You can use this green pointer if you want.
Oh, okay,
It works
great.
on this. Green will work. Green works.
Oh, okay.
I can hover too.
Work for me. Okay, no problem. So the applicants purchased 5, someone else purchased 1, but then for various reasons, it was not a buildable lot and defaulted in their performance, lost their deposit, and so the town sort of still owns lot number 1, and that will come into play and proceed. So what we're asking for is a variance from the front setback of 50 feet, okay? Essentially, I'm sure, I mean, I go down Hanover Street every day for myself. I'm not sure if you get to travel, but it's a fairly significant elevation drop from the Holmes property down to Main Street. It's also a fairly significant drop down this way towards the pond. So this is at the sort of low end here. So there's a fair amount of wetlands that impact both of these lots, okay? The result of the wetlands flagging on lot number 5 is it pushes the house up to the street. And so what would work is a 30-foot back as opposed to a 50-foot setback. As you can see, so as you know, there are statutory requirements that have to be met in order for this board to be able to grant a variance. And I'll take the board through those requirements, which we think would be satisfied in this case. So the first is that there are unique conditions that affect the lot, but, oh, there we go. So that you see, yeah, that's, so that would be the 30-foot, that's the 50-foot. So there are unique conditions that affect the lot, but don't affect generally the zoning district. In this case, we would suggest that there are, that shape, soil, and topography are the unique conditions. And so we have two. We have topography, because you can see from the elevation grades, there's quite a slope back. And the other is the wetlands, which is the soil conditions. So those two factors force a house up towards Hanover Street, okay? So that's a condition that's unique to these lots, but really don't affect the rest of the zoning districts. It's in, and by way of background, this is in the residential 2 zoning district, so it's acre zoning, okay? The next criteria for a variance is that a literal enforcement of the bylaw would cause substantial hardship. And we would suggest that that would, because in order for the applicants to construct a home on this lot, the home would be limited to 16 feet in width. Really not very marketable, a glorified shed. And so, you know, they believe they were buying a buildable lot and have invested in the lot. And to not be able to market a suitable single-family home would really pose a significant financial hardship to the applicants. And so, and those have to be linked. The unique feature and the hardship, and they are, which is that the unique feature forces the house to violate the 50-foot setback. What's important is the final condition is that a literal enforcement of the bylaw will not substantially harm the public good or substantially deviate from the intent of the bylaw. So what's the intent of the bylaw? It's basically to have you know, uniform siting of homes in the district, so you don't have homes right up against the street. If Stephanie, if you wouldn't mind going back to the one showing the lots, I'll just show that. And again, these are all, this home is newer here and complies with the 50-foot setback. The rest of these are older homes, probably predate zoning. Again, just going to work this morning and taking a look at those as I drove by. I didn't even need a tape measure. I would say most are less than 30 feet from Hanover Street. So in order to grant the relief that the applicants are requesting, to site the house 30 feet off of Hanover Street really isn't going to deviate from the intent of the bylaw, which is you have reasonable setbacks and a uniform appearance in the neighborhood. So those are the requirements for this board to be able to act on a variance, but we've been able to submit to you complete plans yet because we don't have them. And the reason why is that there's a couple of factors. So the first thing that the applicants need to know is, would this board consider granting that relief? If the answer is no, they're going to take their ball and go home. Okay, but if the answer is, yeah, we would think that's a reasonable request to grant that variance, then they have to invest further in a septic design. So there's a couple of things, and Mr. McCarthy and I discussed these the other day, is that number one, to get the percentage of upland, they would actually need to acquire lot 1. Okay, so the combination of the upland on 5 and on 1, I think 1 has even more wetlands than 5. But combining that, you have acre zoning, combined it'd be about 35,000 square feet of upland. So you'd have a percentage of a little over 80% of the required lot size would be upland. So they would meet that requirement. You'd have well over 200 feet of frontage, and you'd be able to get the required lot shape factor in square or circle.
Circle.
Yep.
Yeah.
As well by doing that. But the applicants, the first step is to sort of get a sense from the board if the board thinks that the relief requested is reasonable, and then that the board may be inclined to consider that. Because if the answer is no, they're not going to invest further. If the answer is yes, then they have to invest in septic design, which is costly, and then they would have to invest in acquiring Lot 1. If they get to those 2 steps, we would then be able to finalize plans, come back to this board with a final lot. Really, one question I had was, okay, well, maybe we could set the house on 1 and we wouldn't have to violate the 50-foot setback, but it actually has to be closer because of the wetland. So the best place to locate it is on 5. That gives it the best reasonable setback. So that's why we've decided to start here with this request, because it kind of triggers a series of dominoes. So that's why we're here before you tonight. And hopefully that makes sense, and we're certainly here to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. So just so I'm clear on it, it started with just, I can't see that, is it Lot 5, we'll call it a locus?
Correct.
Leave the other lot off just so I understand it. If you were to come in and try to get variances for that, you'd probably need 3 variances.
Correct.
Setback, the circle, and the square footage of the upland. If you get a favorable nod that the board's receptive to a variance on the setback, you would then discuss with the town to acquire Lot 1, however that could work, and then come back or revisit it then, the bigger picture.
Correct. We would then amend.
I understand that.
Okay.
I do have a question, though. Could we get some specifics? How big is Lot 5? Hold on.
1.02 acres.
Is it 1 point, is Lot 5 alone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right there, 1.02 acres.
Okay, thank you, sorry.
They both are, actually. Yeah, it looks like it's a 50-50 land versus upland. What's the
The minimum?
yeah, what's the minimum?
60%
Yeah.
of the required lot size.
Has to be buildable, right?
Contiguous upland.
Right, but that only happens if he acquires both properties? I'm sorry, I think I get into it.
So lot number 5 looks like it's like a 50-50, might be a little less than that.
So
The upland on 5 is 2166, so it's pretty close. It's acre zoning, so
Right.
pretty close to 50/50. And then the upland on 1 is 14,963. So together, you get 35,129.
so you need 26,
Right.
136.
But he needs both lots to meet the first.
In order to meet that criteria, they'd need both lots.
Correct.
Need both
right.
lots. They also,
Or they come for a variance.
Correct.
Right.
Exactly.
the other, as was mentioned by council, the required circle
Yep.
that has a 200-foot diameter placed on the lot. And then the other one is the lot width at the front setback has to be 200 feet, so that they're not right angles, the lot lines, so it would pinch less than that to run across at the 50-foot setback, have 200 feet from sideline to sideline. So that's another one that would, if one was acquired, it's met.
The circle's met with lots of, right?
Yeah.
So if this lot's gone through tax...
Three things would be met if one was acquired, the upland, the circle, putting the circle in, and then the third one, which I mentioned, was the the dimension at the front setback of 200 feet, because now you have 400 feet there, so you can,
The lot width.
a lot width.
So if this land has gone through tax title, which I understand it has, and if both lots have at one time or the other, when Locust went through tax title, I'm speculating that it might have gone that way because someone couldn't pull the building permit on it, and therefore found it not feasible to carry the tax burden. But I haven't researched that. I don't know if we know, has there been a history of previous applications for a variance on that lot?
Oh, I don't know the answer to that question, Mr. Chairman, but I can say that the owner, at the time of the tax taking, when they acquired it, they acquired 40 acres. And so I'm not sure how much was left, but at least these two lots were left of the 40 acres. And I don't have a legal description of what the 40 acres were at the time. One of the things that I did was I looked back to see if either of these lots predated zoning, but they don't. They came into being in the mid-'70s.
And what's your opinion on what makes, you mentioned the topography, but also what, in the wetlands, what's so unique about wetlands on a lot?
Well, it goes to the soil conditions. It's shape, topography, or soil. And so the conditions of the soil are really wet. And is it unique to the lot? I would suggest it's unique to these lots, because if you go right up the hill, the Hanover Street doesn't have a wetland problem at all.
But any lot that has lands, you would argue, have a unique soil condition.
It could be, depending on the location of the wetlands. So each lot is unique, and so here you have a combination of not only sort of grade sloping back, the wetlands in back. So not every lot that the wetlands is going to automatically trigger meeting that unique feature. I would suggest that given the location of these wetlands, that forces a house forward, that it would satisfy. Again, because it doesn't impact the entire zoning district, or at least sort of the neighborhood on Hanover Street. The statute says zoning district, but I think the intent is what's going on Hanover Street. And really, these are the only lots that are impacted by the wetlands like that. So, I think a lot of places where you would have wetlands, you'd probably have more extensive, and the subdivision would be designed around that. Here, most of those houses on Hanover predate that, and so.
And the issue with the wetlands as it relates to the lot is that under the wetland bylaw, the general bylaw, there's a 50-foot no-touch setback.
Right.
So it's,
Yeah, that's what he's showing on.
yeah.
One of the points the council's mentioning, though, that two of the adjacent houses are 27 foot from the road, and I think this one's, what, 30-something? So it doesn't impact the
It doesn't.
appearance of
The
the road.
appearance, correct.
That's for sure.
I have a question for the owners, if I could. When you went to purchase it at the auction, what did they, it was posed as a buildable lot by the town of Norfolk or by the auctioneer?
So, but the town of Norfolk,
The town of Norfolk said it was a buildable lot.
yes, it's a buildable lot, yes.
Is that documented?
Yeah, that's what I'm
I
wondering.
have some documents.
Do you have documents on that?
In the meantime, if you have other questions, you may talk.
So, was the auction for both lots on that same day?
Yes.
It was. And they were both presented as buildable lots?
Exactly.
Individually?
Yeah,
Individually, yes.
yeah. That's my,
I'd like to see that. I'd like to see the document.
yeah, me too.
Yes, and the gentleman, actually, we had in touch, I kept in touch with the gentleman who purchased the lot, and actually, like he said, unfortunately, there's nothing we can do. It's unbuildable, nothing we can do. There's not enough space to actually put a septic there.
In this lot, well, I don't know how it was represented, but we'll find out, but I'm not sure that's really the issue, but it's a discussion point. But in theory, it is a buildable lot.
It's a buildable lot with variances.
No, it's a buildable lot with a smaller footprint. Isn't that what we said, a 16-foot?
Can't get a septic system.
I don't think you could get a septic system in.
No, we cannot. Jim can.
There are, the circle, it doesn't meet the circle because of the wetlands either. So, I mean, there are
I
variances.
mean, I should say, without a variance for setback,
Correct.
it's still, it does have some ec value. I thought that was what,
There'd be an awful lot of variances.
the town will only permit a house approximately 16 foot wide.
Without the front setback there.
Correct.
If-
So
if
in
we were able-
theory, it's,
if we were able to-
without that variance, it's a buildable lot.
I still would argue that. I
I'm
don't,
just reading the application.
yeah, I don't know if it is a buildable lot
Yeah, because he's got that 50-foot.
without variance.
I'm just seeing what the application
I know.
indicates it is, or suggests it is.
Okay. Can I just see that?
But the application, is that just being filled out by the owner or presenter, you know?
Right, by
As
the
opposed
applicant.
to with documentation says it's buildable in terms of what they purchased.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Neva would just like to weigh in on some of those questions.
That'd be great, thank you.
How you doing? I'm from Dunn Mackenzie. We did the wetlands, and actually we went back out and redid some soil testing because the town, here's how the town represented it. It's a buildable lot. We have perks. Well, they perked within the 50-foot buffer on both of them. They perked out of perk season, so they sold something that wasn't correct. And then you can't put a well on that lot as well as a septic system to meet all the setbacks, because you need 125 feet well separation from the proposed septic system. Okay, I gotta stay 10 feet off property line, 10 feet off the street line to put a septic system in. The 125 foot septic system, a well staying out of the 50-foot wetland buffer with a well puts me onto lot number 1. So, you know, we also have another plan, I don't know where it is, but that shows a footprint showing the well in the proposed house, you know.
Yeah, we could,
Is that the same map that was provided to conservation?
No, it was a well, one that was provided on Thursday. Was it Thursday?
Yeah, right, I think, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we talked last week.
it's
There's-
right
there we
there
go. Yeah.
in that one.
There's no town water option for this property?
no.
No. See, there's a well. You put that well as close as we can out of the 50-foot buffer on lot 5. It extends into lot number 1. There's no way that you could ever put a septic system in a well on that lot. So how can you call that a buildable lot?
I didn't call it buildable.
And the septic system, it's tough for me to see it, but, so forgive me for asking, it might be obvious to you. The septic system and the well, I see that you have to have a certain 125 feet separation. There's no upland in the back area to locate them?
No, that's all. There's a brook in the back.
Okay.
There's a brook about 300 feet back from the house. Probably about 100 feet to the west of our property line. There's a brook that runs from Main Street all the way towards Leland, no, Myrtle.
Yeah, it goes past
Hey,
the-
Yeah,
that's
on the
it.
locust map, you can see that.
That's correct.
So do you know where, if the town represented it as a buildable lot, do you know where the town represented the well and the septic to be?
Well, if you look on to the right there, right where his glass, they did perks right there.
So they did the perks within the 50-foot buffer.
Correct.
So just at the time that the perks were done, that wetland area there on the right has been added to the plan
That's right.
through the Conservation Commission. So they applied for, submitted a notice of intent back in March of this year. And through that process, going out to the site, that wetland area was flagged. So that, at the time that perk test was, that wetland wasn't identified by the town at that point.
Okay.
Or by Dunmore.
But the town,
Or, yeah, either one.
the town
That's
actually,
probably the whole reason. So conservation got their fingers into it, and that's what the problem is.
right.
Yeah,
there's
the
a-
wetland,
Okay.
yes, the no-touch is driving.
Jimmy, correct me if I get this wrong, but essentially, this line here,
That is your
That's your
50-foot
50
no
foot
touch,
buffer?
right there.
Correct. Yep.
that's what.
So that well number 2 that's on lot 5 is test pit that was there, was
Yeah.
in the no-touch buffer.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now,
So-
it wasn't identified back.
But so in hindsight, or if that conservation wetlands wasn't there originally, the town was thinking a well could go in the corner of the lot roughly, and then the septic in the backyard almost, still,
and
or on the side, one side or the other of the lot.
And the wetland wasn't delineated either at the time
Right.
when the auction was done, so.
Okay.
The only thing that was done was that perk test that was there, that
Okay.
you see?
Yep.
Does the perk test need to be redone? If it wasn't done?
Well, it would have to be on the other lot, it looks like.
Well, if it's at a, you have
It
to.
looks like it won't fit on locus. It
Well,
looks
now it
like.
has to be redone, yeah,
Right.
because it can't go in the buffer, but.
Is the bigger picture to try to get relief so that if you acquired the other lot, the septic system would be on the other lot? Is that what we're looking at?
If they acquire the other lot, that becomes one lot.
But I called it just so I can identify it, but
Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
This can't be done without acquiring the other lot. And so it gets back to sort of taking the steps. First step is here, is a variance from the setback appropriate relief? If it is, then the applicants can then invest additional sums in the septic design and then the acquisition of Lot 1. If the answer is no, then they're not going to spend that additional money, because then they're not going to be able to site a house on either lot.
And what's the depth of that proposed house? Not the setback, but the depth. To fit that outside the 50-foot buffer zone.
It's about 30 feet.
I was gonna say 24 to 30
30?
feet.
I think that's a 30 by, I'm not sure about that, I'm sorry. I
It's a
think
two-car
about-
garage.
It's two-car garage, so
24,
it's about a
26 feet.
30-foot depth,
Yeah.
30
So
by...
I guess my
60.
point is if you put the setback line up there, it would make the house half the size.
Yeah, if it was forced to be 50 feet.
If it was forced to be 50.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It would be about half.
I have a question to you, basically. You've been on the site a few times.
Yes.
I'm looking at the elevation of what I see on here.
Yeah, it dropped.
I'm really very puzzled that we have an elevation of 160 feet
Yeah.
dedicated as wetland, and it drops off to 140 feet.
Well,
What does it look like?
the thing that's driving that wetland thing is right, you see those catch basins on the street in the outfall?
Yep.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
That's driving it.
Ah, all right.
That is right.
Because the elevations
Right.
don't seem to match up. This is a stream which must be at about 140,
Correct.
These are at 160, so is this catch basin dumping the water into that?
That's
Okay.
right, because it was town property, so I believe they put that on, I can't say that for certain, but that's what drove it. And those wetlands, when we initially flagged them back in December, okay, that, we flagged it according to soils. But when Janet asked us to revisit it in May, and that's flagged on vegetation, okay? And that's what the town goes on, is vegetation versus soils. So that popped up because of all the drainage from the town.
Yeah, I was puzzled.
Yeah, I was puzzled too.
The elevation wouldn't, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's a 20-foot drop.
It's a 20-foot drop to the stream. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you're saying there's vegetation such as blueberry bushes or
Blueberry and skunk cabbage.
skunk cabbage? Right.
Skunk cabbage is the major one that is running up that.
Yeah, I have a stream in my backyard that,
Correct.
5 feet on either side of the stream has skunk cabbage.
Yep.
So they would delineate that as being wetlands, even though the stream is, 8 inches wide.
Correct. And Russ Waldron from AES, he flagged it initially by soils, versus vegetation.
It's good to know that. Right?
Yeah.
Just to follow up, do we have anything from the town that somebody indicated that presented at the auction, that it's a buildable lot?
No, that's what we're trying to look for, but I
Yep.
don't have it.
Okay.
We can supply that.
Okay.
Yeah, we might not.
I was just asking, because I knew they were
Yeah, we
looking.
might not be able to put our hands on it tonight, but we can certainly do that.
It's a matter of,
Any other questions from the board?
I don't think so.
I think
I'd like to open up to the public, if anybody else is from the public who would like to speak about this.
the town would be okay with that.
Any butters?
Butters that want to speak?
No, it's an overflow. It's like a retaining pond thing.
No more questions, gentlemen?
Just one clarification. There are houses on the same street, Hanover Street, that are like a 30-foot setback. I think you detailed them over there.
Yeah, actually, there's several that are less than 30 feet.
Okay, so those are existing examples.
Can we just show that lot plan one more time?
There's a measurement on this.
Is it
That's 27 feet 1
Well,
inch. right there.
27, the next one is even closer.
Is
One
it
across the
average?
street.
6'7".
6'9".
The one across the street's 26'9".
Thank you.
And you're right, the only one was within.
It's a new house, it's about
right on
halfway
the
up.
corner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I took a ride out there, and I agree, most of the homes out there seem to be, older homes, like council said, and closer to the street. I guess my point, one of my concerns is really kind of the heart of the variance. I'm not sure that what's so unique about wetlands, I understand soil on this one, that meets the criteria for a variance, but I'd like to hear from the other board members.
Well, that was the thing we were sort of chatting about there between the two of us here, that, we're looking at the contour lines there. There isn't a stream running through this property except the one we've already discussed. So it's not clear to me that how this was defined as wetlands other than the skunk cabbage. And that seems to be, you're 20 feet higher than the stream here.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to take them at,
Really puzzled
those
about
have been flagged by the botanist, and I have to assume they're accurate.
But I think
usually
it's man-made.
Yeah.
That's our issue, kind of, is that it's a man-made. It's coming from the street drains. And the street drains are causing that to be wet. And because of that, it's growing skunk cabbage.
Is it unique?
It's unique. It's very unique.
Right.
And it's unique because of the town of Norfolk allowing water to be poured into that lot, which in reality, maybe they should have extended a culvert pipe down there and made an easement. You wouldn't have had any wetlands, but you would have been able to build,
Well,
in reality.
sticking to the requirements of a variance.
Correct.
I'm not sure that gets you there, but I'm not saying the town did something right or wrong, I don't know.
Well, I'm not saying they did anything right or wrong either. I think in reality, if you call that wetlands, even though it's a man-made wetlands, it should be rectified by a man-made way in reality. It's not a natural wetlands. I have natural wetlands in my property.
But I'm not sure that changes the variance criteria.
It doesn't change this criteria, but
right.
future, I think it does.
But specifically for the variance, regardless of how the wetlands, we agree they're there because they've been flagged as there, and
Sure.
so they're there.
The criteria of the Conservation Committee when they look at wetlands is that they don't want the condition to deteriorate any further, but improvements can be made, just catch basins, or, setbacks or, certain allowances, but this is, as you said, possibly being caused and can be rectified.
Should be. I would think
Should be
should be rectified by a man-made.
So if it's rectified or there's a chance of it, building a house isn't gonna make it,
Right.
isn't the cause here or would make it worse. It can be
Right.
corrected. I
Correct.
think that's what they're trying to say.
So would a correction make this possibly a different plot of the town?
No, I still think they're gonna need the 30-foot
Yeah.
variance.
Okay.
But they may be able to put their septic system somewhere different on that lot instead of having to go to a different lot if they got rid of those wetlands, and it might meet the criteria of if those wetlands are no longer there.
Exactly, be recategorized after the correction.
Yeah, if they
Well,
were allowed to, but I don't know how they do
It'll
that.
take years to redirect water and get vegetation.
No, I hear you.
I'm not sure they're gonna get on that path of
Right.
hoping the,
But at
Oh,
least
and I
it
think
won't
that's
be-
and honestly, it could be more work than just acquiring another lot and putting a septic system on it.
I think what the applicant, and correct me if I'm wrong, counsel, I think what the applicant is presented it all out, bit of a puzzle here, is trying to get some feedback from the board, not necessarily a vote, so that they can get a sense of, make a business decision if it's worth their while to pursue the other lot, with the hopes that if they acquire that, then they come back and try to get it approved. Is that fair to say?
Exactly. Yeah.
You can't erase what's happened, but we can at least prevent it from getting any worse.
Correct.
And that's what the Conservation Committee
Yep. And I
doesn't
think you're
want
right.
it to do, is to get worse. So-
And the idea, Mr. Chairman, would be that if we're able to assemble all that, we would come back with final plans. Now you're looking at a lot that's a 2-acre lot, and so the only relief at that point would be the setback.
So I guess if everyone from the board could. I won't speak for all the
So
board,
are we supposed to are we supposed to make a motion to,
Well, somewhat of a,
I think just
Or
kind of
just a hand raise
informal
kind of
poll
thing.
of what your thoughts are and concerns, if there are any,
Before you do that,
so
though,
they can make a,
is it solidly going to meet the condition of soil and topography, one or both?
well, that, I'm not sure they're asking for a vote this evening.
No, I'm saying, but even for the feel-good feedback, if you want to call it.
well, that's part of you need to
That's
weigh.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I want to feel confident that we can meet either soil, topography, or both. That's what I'm asking.
That's what they're,
And is there a way, can you help us understand if they would meet that?
Well, I think council's laid out, and you can always drive by. I took a drive-by with Rich, and
Right.
certainly the contour is just as council laid out, steep grade. We know there are wetlands here, no one disputes that. I guess I can't disagree with that, those are factual things. My biggest concern from a variance standpoint is twofold. Is there, as crazy as it may sound, there may be opportunity to build a smaller house there without the variance. There also, I'm not sure that it's unique, that those conditions are unique. I don't find that to be a unique condition to have wetlands on a lot.
The
And the request for the variance is a substantial derogation from the bylaw. It's not 2 feet, it's 20 feet. I don't disagree that the neighborhood wouldn't change because of the other setbacks are already there. I don't think it would have a huge impact on the appearance of the neighborhood. I would agree with that.
May I, Mr.
Please,
Chase?
go right ahead.
Sure. So, the criteria on the uniqueness, it's not whether it's unique to Norfolk. It's, is it unique to the neighborhood, really, okay? The statute says zoning district, but for all intents and purposes, we're talking Hanover Street. So, these lots are unique to Hanover Street. It goes straight uphill. So, all the rest of those homes on Hanover Street are not subject to these conditions. So I would suggest that they are soil conditions unique to here that are forcing the applicant here. So here's the 30-foot setback line. If you go back to the 50-foot setback line, it is, by the way, 30 feet on this particular footprint. You're looking at a home that's somewhere in the vicinity of 10 to 15 feet wide. So could a structure be built there? Yes. Is it marketable? No. It really isn't. And then the other, just again, nuance, Mr. Chairman, is the criteria, the third criteria is the variance will not substantially harm the public good or substantially derogate from the bylaw's purpose. So it's not, is it a substantial derogation from the bylaw? Hey, it's a 20-foot relief, that's a substantial derogation. That's not the standard. Is it a substantial derogation from the bylaw's purpose? What's the purpose of the bylaw? The bylaw is to have unique setting houses. We don't want houses sitting right on the road. By allowing this, it's not going to substantially harm the public good, number one. And number two, it's going to be in keeping with the rest of the homes on Hanover Street. So it's not going to substantially derogate from the purpose of the bylaw, which is to get unique sort of, not unique, but a uniform siting of the houses along the street, not have it right up against the street. And so the relief requested is pretty consistent with those older homes on Hanover Street. So I would suggest that it meets both that uniqueness factor, because it's the Hanover Street, and then the third criteria, the substantial derogation from the bylaw's purpose as well.
Thank you. Rich, do you know, has anyone tried a building permit on this lot previously? You don't know, or the answer is you just don't know?
I don't know. I don't know. I'll be absolutely sure.
So let me just hear this right again. They're requesting for us to say, yes, we'll do a setback of 30 feet.
I think they're asking, I'm not sure they're asking for a vote. I think they're asking for
Feedback.
feedback.
Just feedback.
A formal vote would be the granting the relief, which you can't do at this point.
Right.
We understand.
Well, we can't do it because in reality, they only own one lot.
Correct.
And so that's why we can't give you a formal, because if you had both lots, then we could give you a formal on roughly all the variances that were there. Right now, you don't have a buildable lot still, even if we say you can take the 30-foot. So
Correct.
with a 30-foot, the 30-foot, in my opinion, my feedback would be, in reality, yes, I would be favorable for the 30-foot setback, but it's contingent upon the second lot and a septic system that goes on that second lot.
That's exactly the kind of feedback. And we understand we can't get a formal vote. You can't take that.
Sure.
But if the board says, hey, it's not a unique feature, it doesn't meet one of the criteria, you need all three. If you fail on one, you're out.
That's right.
And then we know where we stand. But if 4 out of 5 members feel a similar fashion and we get that kind of feedback, then the applicants can sort of have a decision to make, because it's not a formal vote, but then that gives them some guidance as to whether or not they should continue to invest in the property.
Anybody else want to, Michael, you want to offer your
No,
feedback?
I think we've said our point on this one.
Josephine?
I would have to agree with David's statement. I mean, I would have the same up as David has.
I'm not sure I'm there yet, but I'm only one vote. You've presented it very well, so.
I am curious as to the square footage of the proposed 2.5 house.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Square footage, the proposed square footage of the house.
Monica, do you know what the proposed, I'm looking at the floor plans. Do you know what the proposed square footage of the house?
Like the original or right now? Right now, the whole thing would be close to 2,600 foot.
About 2,600.
Will that be a four-bedroom design?
Four-bedroom, correct.
And is that in line with the size of the other homes on the street?
Might be smaller.
Yeah, I think they're smaller.
They're small.
They're older and smaller.
They're small.
The new one, the new one, that's the
new one-
50-foot setback, that's a bigger home.
The new one's probably 5,000.
Yeah, it is.
The new one?
You have to have there's a minimum, right?
No, you can't regulate the minimum size house, no.
You could have a tiny home.
You have a time.
They're popular now.
Yeah. I would,
I don't think.
without looking at it, I would think everything would, with the exception that, well, I don't know. The new home was probably bigger, but those old farmhouses are hard to tell sometimes. It could be. I mean,
No, that's not one of the old ones.
yeah. Well, that could be bigger than it looks, too, right? I don't know the total footprint.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, my house looks big and it's tiny.
Or it could be that way, too, right?
Don't tell the assessor.
Tell the assessor.
Remember, you're trying to go the other way, maybe?
Yeah, I'm
I think
just
you want to go
trying
up
to
there,
show you.
yeah.
Because he thought it was bigger than
This
it
is the
was.
immediate.
Is there any
This
sort
is
of
the
structure
immediate.
currently on
The
the lot
immediate
now?
neighbor,
A
right.
shed, anything? No.
No.
Nothing.
That looks like a two-family.
Is that feedback
I had sort of some clear guidance from two of the members. I know, Mr. You're not sold, and I didn't know if the other two members felt similarly with Mr. Axberg, or, so that would be,
Yeah, I would, the same as David said, if, I would feel comfortable with the 30-foot back with the additional property being acquired and meeting, all the other requirements.
Septic
Josephine?
requirements.
I'm receptive to it. I would be particularly receptive if the town could address, the worsening condition, but yes.
all right, that's really helpful.
Thank you very much.
I really appreciate you indulging us. I know it's not the clearest path, but we really appreciate it. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So in terms of
Yeah, so we
continuing
would ask to
this,
continue, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of a shot in the dark at this point. We have a lot to put together, but I would request respectfully 60 days.
yeah, so it's in November
Sure.
Give me a date and time.
17th.
7:05.
So I'll make a motion, we move this hearing to November 17th at 7, what time again?
7:05?
7:05.
I second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
you. Have a good
very
evening.
much. Have a good
Thank
night.
you. Thank you very much.
I know, that's an interesting one. It's kinda, you got all kinds of stuff there. You got the town saying they're building a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
I'd like to have that discussion with the conservation commission.
Yeah, that's conservation, that too, I don't get that.
It's not
Because
like,
it's ballistically a swell.
Yeah, it's gotta be,
Yeah, I found that out the hard way as well.
I think it was,
Have a good night.
gotta be,
we made it a wetland, man made it a wetland.
feet higher than
I know.
Thank you very much.
That to
Our
me
our
doesn't-
next scheduled public hearing, being 7:59 now, is
My stream,
10 Old Populatic Way,
roughly 20.
an application for a special permit. If the applicant wants to join us,
After hearing.
Joe would read the notice of hearing.
Okay, notice hereby given in accordance with Chapter 48 of the Massachusetts General Laws and any amendments thereto, that a public hearing will be held by the Zoning Board of Appeals on September 2021 at 7:10 PM in room 124, Town Hall, 1 Liberty Lane, Norfolk, Mass. Ryan Dulek has requested a special permit to allow the demolition and reconstruction of a single-family dwelling index in accordance with Section 9 of Chapter 48 of the Massachusetts General Laws as amended, and Section F4B of the Norfolk zoning bylaws. The property is located at 10 Old Populatic Way, Norfolk, Massachusetts. Assessors map 4, block 15, lot 8 in the R2 zoning district.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, so, sorry to kind of just read right off of this. I'm not as
Go right ahead.
good of a
Yep.
speaker as the previous
Just
guy
identify
that
yourself
was
for
an
the record
attorney.
and
I'm Ryan Dulek from Franklin. I own a lakefront property on Populatic Pond on the border of Franklin and Norfolk. I want to extend permission to raise and build a new home and garage. Currently, there's a 1.5-story cottage, an outhouse, and a shed on the property. The cottage was constructed in 1900 with a brick foundation and an underside framing assembly. It was just like a camp or like a seasonal cottage. The property is overgrown and in very poor condition. My plan would be to raise the existing structure and to build a new high-performance home garage. The home and garage would be built above the floodplain to conform with NAVD 88 and FEMA regulations. The house will minimize the impact on the watershed by removing the existing primitive septic system, and then it would connect to Franklin's water and sewer. The home will complement the neighborhood by removing the old home and creating a wider, more usable street. The house will have a traditional Cape Cod exterior with a natural cedar shake clad, white trim, copper, stainless, and black accents, and 2 pane Black Anderson windows and doors. Directly across the street, I would be building an aesthetically matching garage with a overall height of 18 feet, which is allowed as an accessory building based on the lot width. The existing site is obviously tight. There's a hillside in the back, and it's right against the water. First, I would cut out the hillside where the garage is going to be so I could stage the project. I've spoken to the neighbors about the commencement of the project, and I would to accommodate access and parking throughout the project, and I wouldn't, shut down the street at any point. The site is the second to last home on a very quiet dead-end street. I have hired a seasoned excavation contractor to raise and excavate the property quickly and meticulously while accommodating the neighborhood. I'm a licensed general contractor. I've had my own business since I was 18. I have a decent amount of experience dealing with the public in a respectful, conscientious manner. I take a lot of pride in my work, and I keep a clean site. I believe I will add value and beauty to the neighborhood, and I would like to start construction as soon as possible.
Thank you very much. I took a ride out there with Rich the other day, and interesting street, great location. And one of my only concerns really is something you touched on, but maybe you could give a little more detail on, is just the concern for your neighbors out there. Is it's really super narrow out there.
Mm-hmm.
And working with the excavator and the contractor how do we get reassurance or assurance that road remains open, or whatever we want to call it, so everyone can get to that last home and so forth.
Yeah.
I think you commented that the garage would be on the right, and you could have that as a stage area. Mm-hmm. So maybe you could talk to us, 'cause it sounds like you've thought this through, how you would stage the project so that the road is passable.
Exactly. So I would dig into the hillside right where the garage is and get that relatively flat to the street. You can see the elevation of the street is around 138 feet based on FEMA's maps, and that slab height is going to be close to 139 feet. So it's pretty close to the same elevation. So clearing out that entire section and berming the sides, I think we're going to have plenty of space to navigate through there. And then I would work with the last neighbor to create access or parking for the short period of time where the excavation would take place,
A new home, is that in the same footprint as current?
It's essentially on the same footprint. The overall dimension of the house is the same, except for the left corner is squared off. If you look over here on the right, that's squared off. And I previously got permission from the board
Right.
to build this structure with the increased footprint.
And the garage would be an accessory building?
It would be an accessory
allowed as a
building, but it
matter of
couldn't
right.
exceed 18 feet
Yeah.
based on the lot width in the bylaw that is current in the town.
And I think you mentioned the town water and town, that comes from Franklin, is that correct?
Comes from Franklin. Yep.
Is there a fire hydrant close there? I've been up there a few times.
I don't know, there
Fire chief
isn't.
was talking about how to get the,
Hopefully he has a pump from the pond or
that's what I
something.
was
Yeah.
wondering, exactly.
No, there's no fire hydrants.
Now, what's going to the right? What is
There's-
left up there?
Oh, there's actually nothing.
It's
The
open
road,
space, right?
it's a paper road, but there's actually a house right
Is there
there.
a turnaround on the end of that road?
Barely one.
No?
There's barely one. Yep. It's a non-improved road.
Is this an accepted Norfolk road?
No.
No, it's a
No, it's a
paper
private.
road.
It's a private road.
Private road. Yeah, it's not even, actually, I don't even, well, it's private, but I don't even, there's not even a layout. This is not a,
There's not a what?
there's not a layout for, it's there by easement, isn't it, on the lot?
Maybe a
Is
paper
it a
street
right-of-way or an
dedicated.
easement?
I think it's a right-of-way. I don't think there's.
It's a right-of-way, I believe.
There's not even a
Document.
traditional
Layout.
layout that the road's
Right.
within.
Well, my only
Maybe an ancient
concern
road,
is, the
actually.
point you made is, on the left-hand side, you squared off the building. Now, is that going to give us is that a problem with
So it's slightly-
this very narrow road?
It's tighter to the street, but I believe by excavating the other side of the street, we're going to create much more space to get around.
Okay.
You said earlier it would be a wider.
Yeah, overall, because you're going to be taking down that entire embankment, and you'll be able to navigate around there. Right now, it's a pretty steep gradient.
So
Must
who
be.
maintains that road? It's private? Is there
It's
a
private.
fees from the other
I thi-
butters, or how do
I'm
they-
not sure if the town of Norfolk plows it. I'm not positive. You know.
It's private, not, probably not.
You never
It's
know.
private.
You never
I'm
know.
not sure.
You never
Yeah.
know in Norfolk. They do plow some.
Brian, have you had any discussions with the fire chief for anybody from a safety issue on your proposal to do out this? And have you had an opportunity to speak to anybody?
I haven't spoke with him directly about it, but I think Rich reached out to him, and I think he had some concerns that we have access to that last home.
Yeah,
at
that's
all.
my biggest concern, and I think that, I don't know if anyone else is familiar with the site, if you have an opportunity to take a ride out there, but it's a beautiful site. It's just that for a project of this magnitude, that's my concern, is safety for people. That's really what it comes down to for me on this one.
So talk about the sequence. You would take the hill down first,
And then
not remove the house yet.
take throughout the embankment first,
Okay,
cut that all down and make it level for the garage,
okay,
and then raise the building,
okay.
and then at that point excavate the foundation for the foundation.
Put up some barriers when you excavate
Definitely
for
have
the
to put
found-
up some safety barriers around the site to make it safe, because it's going to be close to a 9.5 foot hole
Right.
on that edge. But we have a gradient going to the water of a slope of, I would say, 15% or 15 degrees, I'm sorry, or less.
Will the house be on stilts?
It's going to be pretty much all on, it's an open foundation.
Yeah.
Because it's 100% in the wetlands. I had hopes of building, having a full foundation, but it's in the wetlands, 100%. It's part of the title.
So the only way you can do this is not change the footprint?
What's that?
The only way you can actually get the approval to do this is not change the
Exactly.
footprint?
Or
Even
only
if you're
increase
squaring
it.
off, even if you're squaring it off, that shouldn't
I
affect
think
it?
I could only increase it by like 20% or something. I think there was or 25%, there was a bylaw.
Right, yes.
Correct.
There's no setback issues here? I mean, I know it's
Well,
not...
it's pre-existing.
It's pre-existing, but...
Pre-existing non-conforming.
Right, we're not being, sometimes these are written up where it says that while currently non-conforming, it won't further be non-conforming. It's not being written up that way.
And it won't. It's still, so the thing that's a little unique is that the road is not really a road. So there's not a setback from
Right.
Old Populatic.
Okay,
The setback is the right and the left property lines, and then the pond.
yeah. Okay, so
That's what makes it.
So any setback situations just aren't being changed by this? It's-
Correct.
Whatever's
Not more
non-conforming
detrimental,
stays
right.
non-conforming
Yes.
exactly the same way?
Yep.
And the garage is an accessory building, so
Right, it's meeting accessibility, and that's not on wetland, right?
No,
No.
that's up on the hill.
Okay.
Well, it's in the buffer, but it's on the.
Is that any issue that's in the buffer, or?
He had previously received a notice of intent for this project,
Okay.
although I know, and I've written to
Janet?
Ryan about, yeah, so he'll need to revisit that with the Conservation Commission, because it was based off the 2016 plan,
Yeah.
which at that time was it wasn't a demo, it was a
Fix up,
Renovation.
some sort of
renovation, yeah.
Was the previous, did that include the garage also?
Yep,
Okay.
yep. The last time I had approval, it was for the garage and for the home.
In more of a renovation as opposed to a raising?
Yeah, initially, I think there was a misunderstanding.
Okay. In your mind, it was this?
In my mind, it was totally,
Understood
yeah, a
little
new
bit
home.
different. Okay,
But,
or classified it
yeah.
differently.
Yeah,
So
so
this has been before us before.
Yeah.
It sounds
Yeah.
familiar, it sounds
Yeah,
familiar
That
now.
was started in
Sorry.
2016.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Perseverance.
Yeah, so you will need to read conservation, but I think you already know that.
Yep.
So as far as ASAP that you put on your application, you need to make sure you take care of conservation,
Okay,
all right?
will do.
That's included in ASAP. So, just
Do
the,
you know, Ryan, how far, when you clear the embankment, how far back you'll go?
Sure, so it looks like it could be around 36 feet or so, I would assume. What does that
So-
look like?
Rich, would it be reasonable for us if we had a condition on a special permit to require that embankment be cleared? Can someone verifying that prior to?
Doing the demolition and the
Yeah.
excavation of the foundation
Yeah.
for the foundation?
yeah.
Yeah, that's totally reasonable.
Yeah, I think it needs a few different conditions. I know what you're
Right.
saying you're doing, but I think we want to make sure they're in there
Okay.
in terms of keeping
Maybe
the
a
road
road.
open, protecting the when you excavate for the foundation, and
I go, just a simple question. What was the purpose of this concrete wall on the left-hand side of the property? What is that?
So I think this neighbor on the left, they ended up building that to extend their lawn, to
Oh.
create like a flat plane, so
Okay.
they could have a sizable yard. And they didn't realize that they were encroaching in on this property. The person that owned this previously was a seasonal user, so maybe they were gone and the wall was there. Yeah, so I had to give them an easement in order to proceed because it was more non-conforming
Good.
if you considered that the lot line.
Ryan, how many bedrooms in the existing structure?
Oh, right now it's just a bungalow. It's an open floor plan on the first floor, and the second floor there was 2 bedrooms.
Okay,
But-
and proposes how many bedrooms?
I think it's 3. Or 2 in an office, but
Proposes 2 in an office?
yeah.
of course, in this case, you're tying in the sewer, so it's not.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
thinking,
just-
I'm
This
thinking
is also-
silly on traffic. I'm
Oh, you
just-
gotcha.
I
Okay.
know it's
All right.
minute, but I'm just touching all the bases.
So
Yep.
water and sewer was Franklin.
Yeah, water and
sewer,
sewers
right.
with.
Right.
And you had not previously obtained those, this is my understanding from Franklin yet,
Yeah,
correct?
not yet.
All right. So we have a little extra space next to the garage. That'll be flat too as well, right?
It'll be bermed into the building.
So whoever's there, visitors can park?
You'll have some access to parking, but you'd have to excavate so much of that hillside to make that all flat. And then the slope would be compromised. Potentially, you'd have erosion issues potentially, right?
And the garage would accommodate how many vehicles?
2 cars. So it's a 24 by 24 foot.
How far is the garage back from the edge of gravel? Is there a measurement?
I don't think there's
I
anything
don't think
on
there's
there.
measurement.
Maybe-
What do you, if you're out there now, Ryan, where do you try to park now?
I'm not out there now. I haven't, it's just, it's an old cottage. I haven't spent a night there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would there be any reason, I mean, it would be difficult, wouldn't it?
What's that?
Park
I
out
am
there.
not out there.
The what?
No, where would one park out there now?
So there was some space on the right side of the building, right around there, that you could park. Also on the side.
Okay.
There's a woman that owns some land right in between this property and the last house, and she puts a lot of junk over there and stuff. And she's looking to sell the property, so if I could potentially buy that in the future, that would open up some space for parking, but. There's space on the right side. You can park, and then there's, yeah, on the right side of the garage, there's some space that you could park.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. Is that,
Yeah.
so there would be space on the right side of the garage when you're done?
Yeah, there'll be some.
Okay.
Is there enough room to park in front of the garage, or is that too tight?
It's close, but, yeah, sideways.
Maybe sideways.
Yeah. It's a tight street. you know.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's tight.
Only
Yeah.
one car at a time.
Yeah, it is, basically. 2 motorcycles.
Tell your neighbors you're coming.
So this is
Blink your
all
lights
one,
at
is this
night.
all one lot?
It is all
Right,
one.
right.
Yeah,
that's a private road.
Road in between?
Exactly, yeah.
Cuts through
It's
it.
amazing. That
So the sanitation,
actually houses
trucks get
being
down there, or do they, I don't know, how does that work?
What do you mean?
Garbage?
Garbage pickup.
Oh.
Transfer station.
They go to the transfer
I'm not
station.
sure. They go to the, yeah, the
Okay.
transfer station or
Oh,
something?
yeah, definitely. We all do that. Not all of us, sorry.
Is it okay to ask, how long have you owned this property?
Too long.
Too long? Okay.
Yeah. I purchased it in 2014, you know. So I learned a lot about regulations and, you know, so.
The 30% increase in construction costs?
Oh, yeah, just right before, or right after COVID.
Yes.
So it's really poor timing, you know. as far
Any
as-
other questions from the board? Anybody from the public or in a butter that'd like to speak on this application? Okay.
Are there any abutters?
I've had no butters comments either.
Okay.
I'm assuming you've talked about this with your neighbors.
Yep.
How's the overall feel been with them?
Good. I mean, they want me to start because it would add to the neighborhood to have a, you know, dilapidated house removed
Yeah, right.
and a nice home put in. I think it's going to bring up the neighborhood overall, you know.
Yeah, definitely improvement for the neighborhood.
It's up to the board if you want to vote on this evening, or if you want to, I've been out there. I don't know if people want to get out there, have an opportunity to get out there. It's laid out pretty well on the plan.
I think,
We can decide depending on how long the next hearing goes if we want to deliberate tonight, but we can close the hearing.
Okay.
If you're comfortable, right? So.
Yeah, I think if we have all the
think
details,
so.
we can, whether we deliberate tonight or next meeting, we'll try to get it in tonight, I gather, but it depends on how long the next hearing goes.
No other questions for the applicant?
If there are no more questions, I would motion that we close the hearing.
Any discussion? All those in favor of closing the hearing?
I,
Who seconded?
I'll second.
All right, second, and you all agree to close the hearing.
Okay.
Thank you, Ryan. Have a
All
good
right,
night.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
thank you. I thought he was gonna say, won it in a poker game. Oh, I know, that whole area is a mess. I think anything's an improvement.
Where we just can't.
Oh, they were just camps.
On that one,
That was like Highland Lake. There was a bunch of them up there.
Yeah, it'd be a good idea,
Pretty
right.
involved.
I would probably, I'd feel comfortable with that. Yeah, especially if you feel you have some homework you can bring to the table.
Franklin comes in from,
But there's nothing else we could have done during the hearing,
I
right?
don't know.
Right.
But it's
I mean,
there.
unless you thought we should have
It's in
afforded
the
some
street.
special, some of the town entities.
no, it's
That house on the end. must
Okay,
have-
8:20, our next hearing is for 14 Shire Drive, a special permit application.
Yeah, I'm gonna read that in. Notice hereby given in accordance with Chapter 48 of Massachusetts General Law Amendments there that a public hearing will be held by the zoning board of appeals on September 1st, 2021 in room 124, Town Hall, Norfolk, Mass. Island Lighting and Power Systems Incorporated, 7:15 PM for a special permit pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 9 is amended, and Section J7A1B of the Norfolk zoning bylaws to allow erection of a scaled-down prototype of a monorail-like system. The property is located at 14 Shore Drive, Assessors Map 18, Block 69, Lots 4 through 7 in the commercial zoning district.
Thank you, Joe. Well, welcome. Thanks for being so patient this evening. If you could identify yourself, we'd love to hear from you.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Jeff Jerrier. I'm the operations manager at Island Lighting and Power Systems. We are a commercial and electrical contractor located over on 14 Shire Drive in the Shire Development Trust. I'm here with our partner, Mike Stanley, and his colleague, and we're here to discuss exactly that, the erection of a scaled-down prototype of a people mover or monorail type system. Mike and his company have developed this system that they intend to proliferate all over the world. What we're looking to do is erect a scaled-down version of our property that's going to be used exclusively for research and development, specifically demonstration and testing. And what this is going to entail is the erection generally of 3 vertical 30-foot columns with a 60-foot crossbeam. And there's going to be this people mover pod attached to this system, which will essentially run that span for the testing and demonstration. So Mike Stanley is, Mike Stanley here is erecting generally what it's going to look like.
Stephanie just run a little bit of a,
Oh yeah,
Oh, there we go.
gives you an idea of the,
and why Norfolk and why Island Lighting and Power Systems. As I mentioned, we're a commercial and industrial electrical contractor. We do a substantial amount of work with foundations, massive foundations, obviously. And we have the equipment, resources, and people to install this type of system. And we happen to have the space, being in an industrial complex, have the ability to create this type of prototype.
Will we see what the layout looks like amongst the property where you plan to install?
Yes, Stephanie, if you wouldn't mind going to the last 2 pages. Oh, looks like we have some pictures. Sorry, I guess it's not the last 2, is it? Yeah, so we have some pictures in here of where we would like to put it on the property, and then additionally some photos with the structure itself superimposed to get an idea for the scale of it as well as the location. So here right now, here's the police station, for example.
Yep.
Come up Sharon Ave, Dyer. Here's our building. We're looking to put it like right in this position right here, which is adjacent to the warehouse portion of our space where we keep trucks, equipment, and other types of other vehicles. Across is Mass City Bridge, and then the police station, Trident, Environmental.
Would this structure be there permanent, or what it's for the demonstration and then?
I think we're thinking
Take it down.
like 12 to 18 months or so, or?
Yeah, I mean, the tower was originally a temporary structure, so I guess it
Could
depends.
still be.
Yeah.
it still could be, that's right.
So I guess it depends. If it's, it would be a part of history, so the question is, at what point the Eiffel Tower was almost taken down, 10 years after it was built, but then they decided, let's leave it up. So it's kind of similar. We can certainly remove it because it has foam foundations, and so we can move it, put in storage, whatever. So it's not a problem. We can bring it back to as-built, pre-existing conditions if necessary.
And would this be, I think I generally know the area on the police side of the building, police station side. Would this be in the grassy area you have out there now?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yep.
these pictures, do we have them?
Yeah.
I don't have.
You don't have photos, right?
You're right. I can get that.
Rich, I'm going to ask, under J7A1B,
Yes.
we have a list.
Research and development.
Right. Okay, got it.
Black and white.
I'm sure that was in that package, but apparently not. Did I not give you a picture, Stephanie?
Well, here's a black and white, and I can bring it to color. bring it up on here.
So there'd be no lights on, this wouldn't be illuminated or anything?
Correct. And it's 100% solar powered as well. Oh, there we are.
Yep, okay.
So right where Stephanie's cursor is right now, correct, right there. And again, it would be a 60-foot span connected with 3 30-foot vertical columns.
And then on the spin, what do you put the pods on there and? is it-
Yeah, so there's, Mike may pull it up, there's like a, it's like a system like this. So the pod goes right through, or right over the, thank you, yeah. Right, yeah, if you just look at like a cross-section like that, it's similar to what that would be.
So, yeah, it's an electric vehicle, except the electric vehicle weighs, 100 pounds.
It's kind of a new concept to me. Do you have them in other locations in Massachusetts?
Where else are you now, Mike?
Well, we're starting in Bangladesh, Nepal, Ghana, Rwanda. Just had a meeting this morning with one of the states in India that has 100 million people that wanted. I got a call from one of the Minister of Transport. I am actually the Minister of Transport for the nation of Hawaii, which is an indigenous tribe in Hawaii, because they want to put this on their property. So, and we've done about 2,000 proposals around the world, pretty much in all but 43 made proposals for. But like most things, municipal leaders are often followers. They want somebody else to go first. So getting the first one is by far the most difficult thing, both for easements on rights of way and then also for financing.
Yeah. But to answer your question, no, this does not exist in Massachusetts.
Well, this will put Norfolk on the map, huh?
So this installation,
At least with
there'd be no
Bangladesh.
light, no illumination,
Correct,
minimal noise.
correct.
Yeah, noise. Like, think of it electric.
Yeah, no exhaust, no fumes really.
Yeah, our expectation is, like I say, with the demonstration and testing, Mike will probably be bringing in people from all over the world, I presume,
Yeah.
just to see how it works, and also the testing that would come along with that.
So here's an example kind of showing a little bit.
I'm glad we,
Jeff, did you send me those pictures, or
I thought I did.
let me take another look?
I might be thinking about my planning package.
yeah, you definitely did for the planning board. Yeah, and just to segue to that, so they were before the planning board at the July 15th meeting, and they voted a minor modification to allow for this installation.
It's a modification.
They had it previously, that site was, went through the site plan approval process
Okay.
for the entire site. So they asked for a modification to
Yep.
do the installation, which was approved by the planning board.
Because there's nothing here that we're discussing for setbacks or anything like that.
No,
Nope.
no.
I drove by your facility earlier today. The property is extremely well maintained, looks beautiful,
Thank you.
wonderful.
So is this, well, putting on my engineering hat, which I don't want to do too often. Are you going to actually power this? Or is this just going to be?
It is powered. These are powered. It
No, but
is-
in this location, you're going to be demonstrating it operating, right?
Yes.
Oh, yes,
And it's
yes.
going to be driven by solar power or just?
Well,
power
batteries
in?
that are being charged by a solar drip charging system.
Okay. So you're going to be demonstrating controls, stop,
Yes.
operation?
Right, correct.
Operation control.
But only within the 60-foot span that you
Right.
created.
60 foot and then the vertical. So there's a,
So, yeah, you load it by lowering the pod down?
yes. So it's a outdoor elevator, except the cabin itself is also the thing that goes both horizontal and vertical. So Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, kind of. Here's like, just for scale, so here's like a passenger version. So there's freight versions and there's sort of passenger versions. And that's kind of the scale of what you would say like a car.
More of a curiosity question. While loading, let's say, passengers, so the thing has been lowered to get passengers, can other other ones pass over them?
Yes, yeah, it's offline stations.
Yeah, okay, and then you get back on and join the highway.
Yeah, there's basically a merge point. So what we're actually doing creatively is, because we don't have enough room and money to do, so we're doing first the lift, and then we're also then doing the horizontal, but they're not going to be connected in this one. Normally what would happen is the pipe would come off on a Y branch, dead end into another pole, then vertically, and then sort of either back up or basically like you would go like a parallel parking, right? So you pull over, you back up, you back on.
Yeah. Yeah, not that it applies to what you're trying to do here.
Right.
Conceptual.
I guess my only thing, we assume we approve all this, it's just that, do we condition it in a way that it's tied, that someday if they leave or their business goes away, down, or that, I'm just thinking about what conditions to apply.
That's a good question. Depends if you want to.
What purpose? I mean, in reality, if I'm looking at it as if, you know, you had how tall is it?
It's about 30 feet.
This is 20 feet to.
Oh, I'm sorry,
here.
feet, yeah.
19 feet here, 20 feet to here.
So it doesn't go beyond height restrictions or anything. I
You think
mean,
it could be a nuisance or an eyesore?
Yeah, I'm just thinking that if for some reason, and again, I don't know if we have to, but I'm just asking Rich for advice, should we be
Would that be
conditioning
a
it?
problem if the company were to relocate and not have any operations there? The condition would be that would be taken down?
No, and I can assure you, we're not going anywhere. We've got a substantial investment where we are, and we have generations of family involved in the business, and we're entering our 30th year of business in February. So, but notwithstanding all that, no, that condition would be fine by us.
Again, I'm just
It's a
asking,
good
I'm just asking you a
question.
question.
No, it's a
I know we
reasonable
write these
question.
things
No,
up,
it's a
we don't
reasonable
read
The
question.
property is so well maintained,
Yeah, no, agreed.
yeah.
So you own the property as well?
We
building?
do, correct. Yep.
Any other questions?
Oh,
Anybody from the audience have any input on this, questions?
Yeah, there's no buttons.
No buttons?
In the essence of time.
Will there be admission to the public? And how much? No.
Hey, we could always arrange, the idea is we're going to have a groundbreaking and then a couple weeks later have a ribbon cutting. So try to get some, press and stuff there. Because it's significant. Just, and sort of taking that level up for 20 seconds, of all the problems that we have, like the congestion, the fires, the rising waters, the resiliency problems, the, equitability, access, having good transportation, like what that will do to the continent of Africa or Asia with the amount of people, access to healthcare, having, COVID-resistant infrastructure. You're talking about changing the entire world's, because most of your carbon pollution is from transportation. If you're basically eliminating transportation, this alone being implemented around the world would achieve the Paris climate reduction of 30%. Just this alone, if we implement it in the scale that we're thinking about. So it's a big deal.
that's why you want to have a loose condition. This may be
Right.
birthplace. It's pretty.
Yeah, why do we know Kitty Hawk, right? Why do we know that term Kitty Hawk? Is because it was the forefront of a new innovation. And what, these two guys that don't have any engineering degrees are going to use for what? For flying? Is that for bird? Just
Bicycle.
right.
Bicycles.
It's some
They're
bicycles. They
cyclists.
study pigeons, right? What are they? It's like that's impossible. People can't fly. It's like you can't replace roadways. But the thing is that infrastructure that typically was government financed, whether we're talking about the ARPANET going into the internet, whether we're talking about the NASA going to SpaceX and other, infrastructure when it's lower in price means that the government can now move from government funded to a publicly funded. Just nobody believes now that roadways, bridge infrastructure and highways can be more cost where usage fee pay for the maintenance and build out of that infrastructure. I'm telling you, it can be. So just like your budgets don't go to providing 5G infrastructure, which is cost billions of dollars. Each one of you has a cell phone in your pocket, you're paying $50 to $100 a month because private companies build that infrastructure. Same with roads.
And Mike is a number of things. He's certainly passionate.
Yeah.
And he told me to kick him under the table if he keeps talking. So I'm going to kick him under the table right now and turn it back to the
But to
board.
simplify this, obviously, we're trying to approve a facility for research and development.
Yes.
So for them to
That- that's
construct this
basic.
60-foot span, 3-column structure, that's what the bylaw is saying, that we can approve that they're going to build this structure on their property,
Correct.
and that's all we have to do. It's simple.
We don't have any issues with,
And wish them luck on their endeavors.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we're excited about it.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
No other questions from the board?
No.
Thank you, gentlemen.
So I make a motion that we close the hearing for Island Lighting and Power Systems.
Is there a second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to it.
Is it recording now?
No, you're on, you're on.
Okay, I just want to take a second. My name is David Brooks. I live in Norfolk, Massachusetts. I've been involved with Transit X for 5 years. It's exclusively probably the best way to save the planet. There can't be more carbon dioxide taken out of the transportation system than this system. And our need to stay alive on this planet has a lot to do with why this is being born. It's being born here to send over to Africa and Indonesia, because that's where all of our pollution is going to come from. And we should stop it. I've known Mike for 5 years. I've been following this type of personal rapid transportation system for over 20 years. Its time is here, it's now, and this turns out to be the birthplace of something that is really, really big. The engineering all comes out of MIT. All the ideas come out of MIT. And now what we've done is taken all that information and all that knowledge and put it into a system. And you guys have thankfully seen the light. Because we can't change the world. And we are changing it.
Yeah, right. That's what you need.
You're getting kicked under the table.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Night.
Thank you.
I saw on the agenda that we have a list of things we have to go over tonight.
I think we're going to have the town planner update.
Right.
Yeah, I just,
You have 3 minutes. Just kidding.
yeah, something I discussed with Tim in terms of just having a regular update with things going around in town and just give you awareness about those items, and I do that every agenda with the planning board, so I thought it would make sense to do to the ZBA.
Sure.
So I'll just quickly go through them and
Thank you.
and you can about those. First item is that you probably my memorandum here, or Amir Harrington was elected on the 24th of August as new town council, town Norfolk. As part of the transition, having new town council, they call it the road show, but essentially meet with ZBA to introduce themselves and talk about things that are before you, any topic related to zoning. So what I thought probably would make sense is maybe have a meeting dedicated to the purpose, not have it on a regular agenda, so you have the opportunity to just talk openly without pending matters. And also offer training as well. So if you want to think about topics, for example, variances or whatever that may be, what we discussed is offering training to the board members. So I was thinking that perhaps, if you had a date, we don't need a date, I don't need a date yet, but if you want to get back to me maybe with a date, I'll work with council and we could set something up. They'll come in and talk through. And if there's something that maybe topically you want to have them talk about, we could do it at the same time. So give it some thought.
Great.
So we can, so they'll be available to the board.
That sounds good.
Yeah. The second item is We had received a grant a while ago to do a wastewater master plan for Norfolk Town Center. I know Josie is the representative to the B1 committee, was involved with passing the zoning at the May town meeting, increase the density. October 28th at 7 p.m., it will be a virtual presentation on the master plan study, which essentially looked at the existing plant that's on the hill, expanding it, additional capacity there, looked at connection to MCI Norfolk, which has a wastewater treatment plant. One option is doing nothing, and then one is potentially constructing a new wastewater treatment plant for Norfolk Town Center. There is a draft report that's on the website under the on the land use page if you want to take a look at it. And I'll really forward you the link to it to take a look at it. But so Woodward and Kern will make a presentation, go on an overview, and then there'll be Q&A session associated with it, and then we'll talk about in terms of next steps, potentially in terms of next steps, because throughout the country there's the ARPA money that's come in relation to COVID. Sewer, water projects, those are fundable activities through that. So we'll talk about that then at the 28th. So in terms of if there is support for this project, there is at least some seed money to look at the engineering, design, and permitting of it, which is a positive development for the town because that seed money is a pretty critical piece to this. We'll get into further detail, but I just want to put that on your radar.
I do recall many years ago, there was talk about trying to get some more wastewater treatment in town center because they couldn't get the commercial development without it also.
Yeah, and that's the basis for what that study was, to take a look at. Through the zoning study that Josie was involved with, there was a build-out analysis as a rep to the board. We looked at build-out projections under some mixed residential and commercial and came up with projections. So they have potential future flow numbers and act into that. So,
Yeah, with the two projects that are going on in the town, you've got the rail crossing one just over here, and you've got Boys Landing. They're both, I guess, on septic system and
They are.
really close into the town.
yeah, they're both on septic.
And I would anticipate we never ask them to have a hookup for us and for a few
So unfortunately, there was no sewer for them to tie into, and the fact that they have a septic system there that's fully operational, I don't think they would want to tie into the sewer.
I live in the village at the river's edge. That septic system costs us a fortune. We could capture that money into the Norfolk to fund some of the sewer stuff if we could get these guys off their septic systems.
Well, certainly something.
It costs us $26,000 a year, I think, something like that nature.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that.
And it's going to get worse as the equipment gets older.
Yep.
And there's no hookup. And it's right on 115, which ought to be the routing for the new system.
Right, but this wouldn't bring something up 115.
Well,
Yeah, we're not
going after the money for the government.
Well,
No, we are, but this is a focus in terms of the wastewater treatment plant. That's as
Hook
part of
up
this.
the existing ones.
No, it's really focused on town center to provide sewer.
The boundary doesn't go as far as...
It doesn't go to where you are.
Just like I couldn't get them to build sidewalks that far up.
I know, that's another, I'm gonna bring that
Yeah.
one
That's
up.
the master plan discussion.
Right, that's the master plan. Of course, there's the counter argument to, so from our neighbors, which is Franklin.
Franklin did it.
Right. So,
Midfield's done it.
so Franklin has a sewer. There's the balance of balancing growth and the sewer. So I think at least in Norfolk's perspective on the sewer, and at least in this study, is really more a finite area, which is town center, not a sewer expansion beyond the center of town. So there's pros and cons, but
this was also to help build some more commercial development.
commercial, correct, right.
Just a bigger question. Is there a mandate from the state to eventually get to sewer?
No. No, it's really, it's each individual community.
and from my studies in civil engineering, it was actually better for septic systems as a whole, community-wise, than having a one locale sewer system. Because now you're bringing everything into one spot, whereas you're filtrating it throughout everywhere else if you're doing it on a septic system but the thing that always frustrated me was, shoot, I was 13 years old or 14 years old when Brookside went in off of Seekonk Street, and right on the back side of that is the sewer treatment plant for the prisons. And they couldn't tie in. The state would not allow them to tie in at all. And to me, that's ridiculous, because that sewer line comes all the way from Wall all the way down through Norfolk. It's the filtration systems, all the prisons, and that pipe comes all the way through. Nobody up on Lake or anybody could ever tie into that, and that doesn't make any sense to me at all.
I know in the case when Franklin allowed some Norfolk to attach their sewers, there was septic problems in that area. So they, people had to pump their septic just to survive.
Well, I know Highland Lake and everything, there's kinds of problems up there. In Symphony Park, they had some big issues up there because there was a lot of wetlands.
But I do know that this won't get septic anywhere beyond town center.
But I'm thinking town center, I mean, that's all gravity feed right down into that line. So I still think the state should allow that.
You're saying this might tie in.
Well, so
One of the ideas.
I know I will say that, and maybe this isn't a closed issue per se, but they did, so the engineers, and that'll be something, the point would be raised again with them at the presentation. So they reached out to the prison, and at least what I heard back was they didn't have any interest in the town connecting to that wastewater treatment plant. But I've gotten feedback that, that kind of doesn't match up with it, so I need to explore it a little bit more, so.
We may not want to get involved with that too. It may cause problems, right?
What's
Because
that?
It may, well, part of this is having an ability to maintain what we create, right? Right? But if we tie into that and there's problems over there,
Well, you would have so you would, if you were to go to the prison, you would negotiate a flow. And
flow rate, right.
Your costs would be tied into that flow.
you just want to get tied up.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know all the big engineering details.
But again, it would be,
Prorated cost.
Yeah,
right, but again, it'd be based on the users though.
Yeah.
of the
I was just
system.
wondering if anything would come back at us if that
They've
failed
actually
for some
changed it
reason.
over
And,
years, but
then there's a whole thing of how do you
they have
fix
a
something that
whole
fails? Just like
huge clerical
River's Edge will have
They used to
problems
have
down the
fields.
future. The people who
Got
live there
rid of
will
the fields.
invest
Right.
in.
I can tell you, at least as far as conceptually with the project, it's based on grants to fund it and betterments, so that those are the and so it'd be based on the users, but.
It makes sense.
I know
Yeah.
it would help solve the, one of the biggest, I guess, obstacles with some commercial business growth in uptown.
Yeah,
so-
exactly. That's been discussed for over 20 years.
Yeah, and through the study, we had direct conversation with some of the property owners that they view the availability of the sewer kind of helped some development, redevelopment
Yeah.
of them.
Right.
So,
One time, it's really got a little bit hot and heavy in discussion because when the new school was being built,
yes,
did they ever do sewers there? No,
No,
it's
they did
basically
not.
septic, right? So they wanted to build they were hoping to connect to a sewer somehow, hopefully, but it was never going to coordinate fast enough, obviously.
so back then, they did do some, so a different engineering firm did investigation to that. It didn't get traction in terms, well, obviously, it's not in, so it didn't move forward, but I think, now this is some of the feedback I heard through this process, but I think there was concern about, again, sewer enabling growth, and maybe not growth that the town would want, so there's that push-pull. Of course, we didn't have 40Bs, so I can't, anecdotally, some of the comments I heard about that,
Well, that's
but,
one reason you need the sewers sometimes, because if you're building 50 by 100 plots, there's no room for septic.
right.
Right.
So,
I grew up in Long Island where they did put septic throughout Long Island, especially on the south, but it was pumped out into the ocean.
yeah,
I mean, sewer treatment plant.
Sewer
but-
treatment, yeah.
But it wasn't like consolidated by one town, it was the whole county.
encourage you to, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I think, also, there's, under Title V, I think there's some rules and regs that you can't have a development that's over, I believe it's 49 units, because as soon as you go to 50 units, you have to develop a whole sewer treatment plant and all that kind of stuff, if I remember correctly.
It's 10,000 gallons, so.
10,000
yeah,
gallons.
Once you get above 10,000.
Kind of works out to be about 49
Isn't that
homes,
what we
if I
have here
remember
on
correctly.
Town Hill?
What's that?
They have their own.
They do.
You're right.
They do.
Wastewater treatment.
The town owns it now, I think.
Yeah, the town's the owner and the operator, but it was originally designed and permitted as a private system.
Right.
So, and that's extremely unique one as well, because it's all reservation, so people are paying into it to have sewer, they're not using it, they're paying for it right now. Because it's, well, there's a little bit of commercial in it, very small flow at the moment, but predominantly it's the 2 condominium developments that are flowing into it, so.
I think it's important to note that such a concept isn't necessarily bringing business into town. There can be, appropriately sized commercial development that would fit this town. But we're also, we're going to replace some of the businesses that we're losing with that project that's on Main Street. I think Al's project will be losing some businesses over there.
Mhm.
I don't know what's going to go with the plaza after him. We're going to be losing anything over there. So we could be bringing in some businesses that we could potentially be losing. So it's
Yeah.
not bringing Walmart and all these other businesses. We're looking at appropriate size growth.
Never mind Route 1.
I think we're looking for one.
I know. People are picturing-
No,
they're
no,
picturing
it's
it, but
scaled
it's
for
not
town,
what it's-
the development.
Put Walmart down on the old Southwood and we'd
It
be
is a
good.
difficult challenge because, we have a lot of wetland right next to the main street.
Yeah,
It's really a challenging location
it is.
to try
I
to
think,
develop.
I think even the property next to Dunkin' Donuts is affected by this. They can't necessarily build on this if they, is that their septic right there? On the
Yeah,
end?
so that was kind of actually that particular property owner with the Dunkin' Donuts was kind of the impetus to kind of push this a little bit, this whole idea.
Yep.
They presented to the planning board where they were gonna build a separate building. It was gonna be mixed use, on the same site, which is where the trees are sold, the Christmas trees and so forth. But they have an old septic system for the Dunkin' Donuts, so they were gonna need to be upgrades to that septic system. And so the issue came up with keeping a Dunkin' Donuts, trying to keep a drive-through, then put a new building, put a new septic system. And they're like, I said to the town, if we had sewer, it would really open up. And I don't think I'd love to be able to meet their development scenario, but I'm not sure if even if we pulled everything off, we'll meet it, and could be unfortunate, but it would allow them to do a lot better planning on the site and the design with the sewer. So it's not always, it's just better redevelopment opportunities and site development. And that was a good example of it, because, they actually wanted to have potentially, because of the grade difference, that you could under, not be below grade, but you should come around the side, on the side street. So I don't know if we're going to meet for them, but it would be nice. But they definitely, but there are other properties that have come forward, did this study in terms of it could definitely help them redo long term. So
At the time with the B1 committee, I think it's important to note that these were not projects exclusively commercial use, it was mixed
Yes,
use
mixed
with
use.
residential.
Correct.
And like first floor kind of commercial, and then residential for the rest, which
Kind of like the credit union.
yes.
Exactly. Yep.
Yes, so,
Yeah, that's a great building.
which
Yeah.
could give some character.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely.
So anyway, that study's, so the presentation will be October 28th. I'll send out the link. Well, I'll send the study so you can take a peek if you haven't seen it yet, and then just kind of mark your calendar. I'll send you the link. It'll be virtual, so you can do it from your home, so you don't have to come here. The next item on the list is we're going to be updating the floodplain bylaw. In terms of, so FEMA has, across the country, as kind of well documented, all the climate change and the flooding that's occurring. Nationwide, they're pushing out to all the different states and then down to local level, updating local floodplain bylaws. So we're what we've decided to do, they adapted a model floodplain bylaw. So the goal is to put that on for the fall town meeting, because there's certain deadlines that we need to meet with FEMA. And if we don't meet them, if we don't update our bylaw, we do have gaps in our bylaw compared to the model. It could impact future reimbursement for storms and so forth. And it could be winter too. We've gotten reimbursed for winter storms too. So
That's critical.
yeah, so it's a critical piece for November town meeting. The next item on the down on my list is the Southwood property, which is the former hospital on Route 1A. We had, so the property it used to be with the Archdiocese of Boston. It was purchased. It was originally a state hospital, and it became a community hospital along the way. For some of you to know that, and some, I'm sure you all. But anyway, so GFI Partners purchased the property earlier this year. It was they closed on the property in February of 2021. They're in the environmental assessment phase right now. It's a contaminated site. There's landfill on the site. However, more recently, which was brought up by some of the folks in the area, radium being on the site, and there was some testing done that was reported of radium that was at levels that need to be addressed. Excuse me. And so the Department of Public Health was made aware of it, and they're scheduling a site visit. My apologies. Excuse me. And
I hope they wear that.
probably early.
The document, all that stuff. Shouldn't be ahead of that.
So they're going to go on the site, the Department of Public Health, with which now is the property owners, to investigation to do what remedial will need to be done.
Information about the site?
Yeah, that's relatively. It's new, yes. People suspected it, but to them, probably new. And certainly the readings. So there was readings taken which showed levels not acceptable range in terms of the readings that were out there. I don't want to be any at all in this area, but what I've been told that it does need to be investigated by the Department of Public Health, and they'll advise accordingly what needs to be done. But that is significant to that property, obviously. But what I have here is so the companion. We'll see how this goes, but we applied for a grant to look at the zoning over there, which hopefully we were funded at, which is concerned. The first proposal was a massive 600,000 square foot warehouse, which the residents in the area were extremely concerned about as a development option. So what we did, we applied for a grant money to take a look at the zoning that's there, which doesn't allow warehouse. So that's not allowed use there. So it couldn't happen without a zoning change. But to look at the zoning, but also in relation, which throws a curveball, this radium. But originally, that was a location looked at for a high-density residential to try to help solve our 40B issue in town, as a location that potentially could be utilized for that purpose. So the radium is definitely a game changer in this all. So I don't know how this will all shake out that way, but we are going to do some planning, obviously contingent upon a clean bill of health for all the environmental issues.
Now that there are new owners, I mean, do they have clauses that protect them from things being found that then make the plot, the development? Or they're in, they have no choice.
It's kind of above my pay grade in one sense. I don't know, but I don't know all the implications.
Yeah, I just don't know what kind of clauses or protections they have from buying something that might need a bigger cleanup than they anticipate.
Richard, has anybody contacted the State Department of the Nuclear Regulation Group? Because
at the state level,
this is material that is regulated, and
so
there ought to be records of it not getting disposed of correctly, if that's what it is.
Yeah, so this is Department of Public Health is involved with this now.
They probably will find out. Right?
Yeah. Of course, this was a former state hospital,
Yes.
too, so.
I wonder what are the typical things used in a hospital that would be irradium? Like, I'm just wondering what would be.
The X-ray.
X-rays.
Yeah, well,
It's all X-ray
yeah.
material.
But just the equipment alone would be.
No, there'll be other
That's what I'm saying. I'm
sources.
thinking, what is
There's
really-
byproducts of it,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Interesting.
And so how do you dispose of the byproduct?
No.
It's kind of like the rods coming out of a
It's supposed to be-
nuclear,
Yeah, it's supposed to be sent back for processing.
correct.
It's not supposed to be
Or
disposed
they
of in the
disposed
land.
of it in the,
It may also depend on how big the area.
It was a
is.
landfill, so.
We talked about that, I know it was one of our 40Bs,
Yeah.
they talked about the cap they had over there.
But a hospital would have, would have had to have records of it coming in, how much it was, what strength it was, and records of it going out and where it was disposed of.
Oh, yeah, perfect
The
record.
state should have had
Okay.
that.
Perfect record.
The state should have had that, right?
Yeah. I know one time when they were talking high density there,
Mhm.
they talked about not only would it be high density, I mean, not that it's gonna be the best place for it, but we probably need another water tank in this town. And they had talked about possibly erecting another water tank somewhere. And that, I think there was a developer, at least, maybe not somebody who bought the property, talking about a big development plan, maybe they'd be involved getting us a new water tank, But again, I don't, obviously, location may be very important where that goes. But I think that's something to think about too, though.
Yeah,
We're
though.
probably getting to a point where we're not thinking about, I'm sure someone's thinking about, but are we thinking about when we get more water source? And do we need another tank here in town?
Well,
Yeah.
We built the new pumping, we did the new well just right on Myrtle Street, right?
The Holbrook?
Yeah, Holbrook. I'm
Holbrook,
sorry.
yeah. So that's a redundancy well there, not a new supply. So we do need to be looking, there is some capacity within the system, but yes, we
Yeah.
continue to need to look for water, as well as supply, storage of water. So that'll definitely come into play. And that site, of course, will need water as well for
Right.
development. So it's a multi-year,
Again,
that project.
the prisons have more than adequate amounts, so. And they're closing down beds all the time over at the prisons. Their population's getting smaller and smaller. Well, they're still producing the same amount of water, still have the same sewer allotments for the whole capacity. You sit back and you go, the state's got this whole infrastructure right in our town, and we can't even tap into it. Doesn't make sense.
I don't know the answer.
It doesn't make sense. I don't get it. That's.
Yeah, there will need, for sure, some bigger conversation on all these topics in terms of,
We couldn't get them to pay our mitigation money all these years. Like, this was given a mitigation amount every year, and I always heard how we didn't get it year over year.
It's getting less
And
and
they were
less of the, what
like a
we get,
little
the benefits.
lucky
we're getting
bonus
out
if
of
we
it.
got it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
And we don't really get much for
Having
them
the
being here
prison.
in the first
Yeah,
place.
where's Sean? Come on.
so these will all be, well, actually, these will all be issues part of the planning study that we'll be talking about. The water and sewer critical for the development, redevelopment, obviously the environmental, the cleanup will be on the owner at the property owner to work on those things. But meantime, we need to have some thoughts of how we want to have the potential of that property develop, redevelop, to what extent, what makes sense, not sense. So there was previous development proposals, as some of you have been around, for that property. So those will be revisited to see if they make sense or not going forward. So
Had GFI come in with a more recent discussion on development prior to the discovery of radium?
no, so they came in before the planning board back in December last year. They had presented the 6,000 square foot footprint for a warehouse, and they had some apartments on high density apartments to try to help with the 40B number. And from that meeting, the feedback that they got from the townspeople, clearly was, support for the housing because it helped solve some of the issues that the town's faced with, but not the warehousing side of the project. So, so it went dark. It's been dark in terms of that. They've been focused on, or that conversation, it's just been focused on the environmental. Now, this radium obviously adds a whole nother variable to it.
Right.
So, so anyway, what I was putting this on your radar in terms of, we applied for a grant. Hopefully we'll get it. We'll see how this radium lasts. Kind of stay tuned, but this planning wouldn't happen until next year. anyway, so it's not that far away, 2022, but that's at least where it's,
So,
Kind of.
Richard, they're talking about putting a warehouse in, so is there consideration about the routing for these trucks? I'm sure that's what the neighborhood's concerned about.
Long discussion, I'm sure.
I am, town of Norfolk, you don't want trucks coming through here. We've had enough of them already.
yeah, that's why,
They're distributing to the, to the west of us, over
Sure.
to Framingham. We're gonna get it. It's just, our road system is not capable of that sort of traffic.
yeah, I mean,
Even Route 1A is not capable. You can't make the turns in half of the
That would
junction.
be highly discussed if it really was
Yeah.
moving
That would
forward.
require zoning change at town meeting.
Big
so that's the positive. We'll make sure, since we're being recorded,
All right.
that's definitely not allowed. So that, to make that happen, the town would have to say yes, they have to change the zoning for that. So that's the benefit in Norfolk in terms of that's not allowed compared to some of the other towns that are being hit with the large warehouse project, so.
I just think about how, like, you see sometimes,
but-
is it Milford, where the Amazon is?
Yeah, Milford.
And
Oh, yeah.
the trucks are all over the place.
Yeah.
Especially, they're all in the same gas station sometimes.
But we're still ordering.
They all
from them,
come out
aren't we?
together.
Yeah.
All still ordering from them.
So that's the,
see that.
the problem is a people problem, right? Because that's what we're doing, right? I mean, maybe not everybody, but, that's the, we're ordering from these places and they need to get the so we are, if you look in the mirror, I mean, some of us, maybe not all of us, but we're contributing to the problem.
Yeah, but some points are better distribution points than others,
I
obviously.
grow my own food.
So you're doing a good job. But, yeah, there are certainly,
Yeah, some places are just better for a distribution point than others, that's all.
yeah, there are. Yeah, I'm not disputing that, but in terms of globally or even statewide, we're kind of putting the problems on ourselves a little bit, right? By feeding this issue.
Does that property back up to Kraft's property in Foxborough?
No,
Oh, it doesn't?
There's a
no,
road. There's that
no.
road.
It backs up, so it's,
Just touch the railroad?
it butts, the old railroad bed
Yeah.
does go through
Right,
it.
right, right.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
And then there's residential homes on the
Right.
backside.
Okay.
In between. The new fields in Walpole are to the north, I guess? Is that
Yeah.
north?
Yeah, I know what that.
Yeah.
It's essentially Everett Street where it connects into South Walpole.
And that whole new
That
field
was-
complex, that's a Walpole property, right?
That's Walpole,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
All the new fields,
Yeah.
so.
Beautiful.
All right, so I'll
They come out nice.
transition over to, just 40B. I just gave you a rundown, just to kind of go over things. Lakeland Farms, which is on Cleveland Street, they're nearing completion, which is, they gotta do some sidewalks, landscape and paving, but all the homes are in.
And the porch that you,
I saw the porch went up.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, the porch,
It's up there.
okay.
it's there.
It looks odd.
Oh, does it? Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, because
It looks like it's
Still a fence
it
to
looks
go
like
up,
a
right?
farmer's porch on the side of
right,
a wall.
yeah. It's not the-
In reality.
It wasn't the true front of the house.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. In retrospect, I think you probably all know, you look at it and say it was kind of designed around the green, but not designed from the Cleveland Street in, you
Right,
know?
right, right.
It's
Right,
kind
for
of,
some reason, it must have been some view earlier that showed them this particular house might have been looking forward, maybe?
I don't know, I think it was always that way, it's just that,
Yeah.
well,
I think it was the building design.
The building.
The windows that were proposed in the original didn't quite align with what they wound up doing on the second floor specifically. So the character was missing from the second floor, and that's why you have that great white facade.
Yeah.
the other one,
The other one looks right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
actually, that one looks good.
It does.
Imagine the neighbors who spoke up were just looking for that mirror image, you know?
Yeah.
It was, and so the whole was,
Lesson learned.
yeah, well, I think it's two things, yeah, I mean, if it would have gone all the way, it would have looked
Right.
better, but then yeah, there's a lot,
And I think they can still soften it with that post and rail fence and maybe
Yeah.
some
Maybe.
plantings, but,
Yeah. Maybe.
well, right.
I don't know.
yeah, the material, well, yeah, there's quite
I mean,
a
they
bit.
still have looks like quite a bit of site work to do over there. So
They do,
yeah.
they do.
So maybe
Some trees that would,
that would help.
Yeah, we talked about that a little
Yeah.
bit.
trees that would grow to 30 feet high and maybe have a nice,
We'll put a few more trees there. too.
Hide the house.
you know.
Can have irrigation.
Boys Crossing is nearing completion. we have to work through. There are some issues that have come up in terms of the development with the residents. So they're working with the residents that are in there to correct curbing. Mainly it's curbing. That's the big issue in terms of falling apart in terms of there. They've been directed to work with the residents. I haven't received final resolution on this yet, but it sounds like they're making positive progress.
Why would curbing be on the residents?
So the permit had precast concrete curb, and they end up putting in poured in place curbing, and so it's deteriorated and fallen apart, and then they modified on the non-sidewalk side. They put in concrete curbing. They thought to kind of have consistency on both sides, but that was poured in place, but it's just backed up against the grass, so it's been knocked out with the plows. It's lessons learned in design, right? So
Right, but did they fail to put in what they were supposed to?
so they felt that they put in equivalent. So
Would the other worked in this case?
the precast, yeah,
Would have held up a lot better.
Right,
Would've
so I'm
held
saying, so wouldn't that be on the developer to fix?
yeah, it is. Yeah,
Okay,
so
all right.
so what I'm saying, it is on the developer.
Okay.
They're working through this, but that's the last piece for them to, and then top coat the road.
It was the residents that brought it forward.
Brought it forward, right,
Right,
I'm saying, but
yeah.
just, it's on the developer. I
Has-
mean, especially, I wonder if we could just challenge the fact that he didn't put what he originally.
Has it been turned over to the residents? Usually at 75%.
Yeah, there's a homeowners association, there's trustees.
And that's been turned over to them?
Yeah,
So that's probably why this has been brought up now.
it has been, yes,
Yeah.
correct. Yep.
So when it gets turned over to the homeowners have a short period of time to try and get things resolved before the final dot is dotted, so. And
So-
that's kind of where they're probably at.
That is where they're at.
Yeah.
So the instructions to to the developers to work with the association to come up with a plan of action to correct these issues. So that's where they're at right now.
Yeah, and years down the line, right? Let's just say things like this deteriorate, right? This is after everything's done and everything. It's on that homeowners association.
Right.
To address it.
Exactly.
Turned over to them.
Yeah.
Right.
They've had their final
And these are the
walkthrough,
things
so to
that, right, so
speak.
regardless of what they're paying, whatever, what is it per month? they pay?
Yeah, it's a condo
Yeah,
fee.
no, it's a
There'll be
condo.
increases from time to time for emergency repairs, right?
Right,
Yeah.
there could be special assessments or whatever.
Yep.
That's the-
Right.
Okay, yeah.
But in terms of our role, so to speak, in it, the lessons learned is to have more oversight during the construction process, which you have put in place now, but that was one of the earlier ones. And so, lesson learned. But at least I will say that so far there's a cooperative plan of action being put in place. So as far as I know, I think we'll have a positive outcome. But I just want to let you know, at least is where,
And the original developer is still doing it, same developer, right?
same developer.
And he's doing other projects here,
Yeah, well,
right?
he's the one that built the Farney Farmer's Porch.
Right, yeah, right. Oh, yeah, but we had him here discussing, we had him here discussing why he had to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
This thing you're
And,
So that-
and the next one he's looking at is Ted's land up on
Yeah.
Seekonk Street,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's like he wants to keep a good name in town
Right,
too,
right.
so.
Yeah, I mean,
So hopefully he'll
he
make
says
right
he
by
wants to
Boyd's and
Make sure
stuff.
he's got a good product,
Sure.
He's also doing Rockwood Road too.
I know.
Oh, is he?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
I know.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, so he's gonna be here for a while.
He'll be here for a while, so he needs to get it right. Which is the next one on the list. Village of Norfolk. It's under construction, which is Rockwood Road. There is, it's like, the building department brought it to my attention, which I brought it to they brought it to the owners of 25. There's a garage that it looks like it is too close to the property line, so. One of the accessory,
One of the new things they do?
yeah, the garage. There's a 3-car garage that's, if you go up and drive through it,
Right.
on the permit that was issued, it's supposed to be 8 feet off the property line. Well, it's not 8 feet, so I don't have, I think,
Several feet off the fence line, but
Off the
I'm not
fence
sure
line.
the fence line's the property line.
yeah, so
So we're not talking like 7.5 feet here.
No, I don't think so.
So you more likely than not will be seeing them to come back, because they'll need,
And the abutter is,
in this case, the abutter is the town of Norfolk, but, yeah. So,
for good or for bad.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
There's a couple of butters over there I wouldn't want to see have to handle
yeah,
this.
so they might, well, yeah, having the town maybe help in this matter, but, yeah, so they'll be back, for sure. We haven't got the, I don't think, but I think preliminarily we've heard not 8 feet.
So again,
Probably not 7.5 feet.
yeah, I know,
No.
not like a skunk we're talking.
No.
But again, does this go back to our oversight, that we're not keeping an eye on this, or? I mean, it's
In
hard to
some
keep an eye on
ways,
every little
yeah.
aspect. That's a tough one, but
It's
I mean, sometimes is the, what we call it, developer willing to face the penalty of making a big mistake?
After they pour these foundations, aren't they providing as-built where these foundations are?
And this is a
I think they are.
three-car width garage?
Yeah.
You know what? I know, let me find out and answer that question.
Right.
I think the problem, well, two things. One is when you're doing the construction, is make sure you stake it out, you measure it, and then you have it all
Pour it.
surveyed
Right.
where it's gonna be. And then if it needs to change for some reason, you come to the town and say, oh,
Modify it the right
modify
way.
it.
Right.
We need to move the garage because X, Y, and Z. Don't put the garage in and say, oops.
No,
Right.
no.
That's
Right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
because short of having like somebody supervise all these projects, it's very challenging to try to pick all this stuff up, right? So,
Right, but I'm just saying, at some point,
some point could be,
someone could be like, do you face the penalty for having made a mistake?
unfortunately, or I should say that this could be you. Actually, in terms of the board,
Right.
you may say, look,
Yeah,
move it.
yeah, okay. And now,
Tear it
is
down.
a three-car wide garage for one resident?
No, there's,
Multiple residents feeding the same?
yeah, each
It's
res-
just like
They-
Boyd's.
yeah, it's similar to Boyd's where you have those not detached garages.
Sounds like a long evening.
Yeah. So you'll be seeing that. So I'm giving you a heads up.
Yeah, I know.
because It's, it'll be
I
coming.
have to think about it. But
And I'll drop down to the next one. They'll be back to see you too. So-
Engineers have insurance, so in reality, come on. If the surveying engineer screwed up,
Well,
should be here.
that means that they had stake though, right?
Surplus land.
that's,
Yeah,
if they didn't do that, then
Yeah. Yeah, they could purchase land.
Have you spoken to the abutter yet?
yeah, right.
who, me? No.
No, the abutters, the town of Norfolk, they should.
I suppose they could buy a piece of land from the
That's what I
town.
was just suggesting.
Good idea.
to the
Well, again,
abutter.
well, again, that'll be discussed when we get to
Yeah.
that point.
Anyway, just give you a heads up.
Okay,
So
thank you.
what's coming? The next, I have Bill. Oh, sorry. The Enclave. So they'll be coming before you. So in the comprehensive permit, they had one of the things was having a central mailbox unit, which is what postmaster wants these days. In terms of as they got into the construction of it now, what they want to do is actually have a little bit of a mail kiosk, and then at the same time have a lot of they have irrigation wells, and they want to put all the hardware. I'll call it hardware, but the
Sure. They want a shed with the
shed to
mailbox.
put it all in. But it wasn't on the original approval, so they're going to need to come before you to request a modification to be able, because it's actually, I think it's I'm trying to think what the dimension of this thing is.
I think a comparable one is probably visible on Park Street on the Rentham side where the new development's going in, right at the entrance on the left.
Oh, okay.
There's
Does
a
that one have one?
kiosk with,
Yeah.
it seems like utilities that would be built into the back.
Okay.
So a kiosk would mean that they're building on a little building for the...
It's a little building,
Right, as
but
opposed to just being centralized outdoor.
correct,
post-
right.
okay.
So it wasn't contemplated in the comprehensive permit. So the developer is aware of it. We've already, between myself and the building department, so he'll be coming before you, which in this case would be October.
Okay.
He wants to get moving on
I
it.
think once you approve these things, they're off and running. Nope, they're coming back.
It's construction, there always seems to be something, right? So, Village of Norfolk Station is recorded. There's no progress as of yet.
Actually, once they're recorded, what is the next step? Do they ask for permits? Is that what they go for?
Yeah, there's.
I mean, they could start to build technically if they get permits and everything
Yeah,
once
they
they're
would start-
recorded. Okay.
Yeah, they would start to. I have to look there are some pre-permit conditions in there probably that.
I would assume demolition first.
Well, yeah, in that case, demolition.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah, that one would definitely be demolition.
That's the original Norfolk Power and
194 Main
Works.
Street.
Oh.
That's all getting torn down and houses are going. How many houses are going?
36.
36.
Yeah.
And is there a timeline by which he should start his construction?
No, I don't. Actually, let me back. I don't think he has his final approval letter from Mass Housing yet, so he's got a little bit of ways to go. I don't think they have that yet.
Okay.
Might have been 40s.
But they haven't
Oh,
given notice that they're going to proceed
yeah,
yet.
all kinds
So I
of
just
stuff.
wanted to give you.
I mean,
You just touched on
yeah, Glenn at Norfolk Power,
Lakeland
whatever.
Hills, so-
What'd he do?
that. Depending upon market conditions, that
Yeah.
might be under. They might try to start construction.
I mean, he had that whole
next
backside
year
and
with
everything else, and he did everything in.
Wade's Crossing, which was formerly Abbeville.
Right.
That's recorded. They're waiting on their final approval from Mass Housing, but I would think that probably will get under construction next year, early next year. We are working as part of the mitigation with the sidewalk for Lawrence Street.
Right.
We have met a couple times with the developer, DPW, and myself. The select board had just a general presentation on the sidewalk earlier. I'm trying to remember when it was. Might have been April time. We do have to have meetings with some of the property owners are out there. There needs to be easements that need to be acquired. So the next step would be to meet with each individual property owner, go over the scope of the project, how it affects their property. And then, once we do that, then we'll have another presentation, for the general neighborhood in terms of the scope of the project, with the goal of having easements on next spring town meeting that are needed for the sidewalk, to be taken care of. So it's moving along in terms of the sidewalk, not as quickly as probably some would want, but
We can do it.
yeah, but it is tracking to have this done, so. There's already been so we had already, at least myself, have spoken to a few of the butters already about, so they have a general awareness of it, but at that time, we didn't have more of the detailed design of it to know exactly what was going on. Those plans are developed now,
Many
so.
of the others spoke during these hearings about having it,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're excited. I would think they're excited, but they want to know what
What it
the
looks
devil's
like.
in the detail.
Right, yeah. Agreed.
But so it's on the project side, so it's on the
Yep.
Wade's Crossing side, so,
Some big bites of hill there to take care of.
yeah, big bites of hill. I mean, the good news, I think in one sense, is that we'll be reconstructing Lawrence Street, and then Lawrence Street will get back on the right-of-way. It's
Oh.
on private property
There
in
you
some
go.
places now, as was discovered through the survey.
That's
So
happened in a few places.
Yeah, so that's not super unusual, right? As you probably know, but
I know that for sure.
so that'll be positive. And then you just got done doing 35 Pine Street, which the appeal period lapsed last week. So
I just, one thing that I wanted to mention, just with a couple of these upcoming projects, sort of near or close to breaking ground, just something for the board to consider in the future, and I don't know if this is something that you could include in conditions, but an additional notice to abutters before groundbreaking, I think would ease the amount of calls that the department receives. And I think it's just a show of good faith in some respect to the abutters that, hey, just so you know, when you start seeing these machines or, the uptick in trucks, this is what's happening. And, it's just a good thing for transparency. So just kind of lobbing that out there, knowing that there will be some groundbreaking within the next year or two on a lot of these projects.
How would we notify them?
So we do receive abutters lists
Yep.
As part of
The
the
mailing?
application. And I don't see why we couldn't do a postcard or a postcard in
Right.
conjunction with something on our
It would be on-
website.
it would
The
be on
good
the-
thing is she has a great idea.
Yeah.
And,
All right.
no. So I can commit to my memory knowing that on Lakeland Hills, that is one of the conditions.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I can't speak, I have to go back and look.
I haven't gotten my notice yet.
They haven't proceeded yet, so.
So they're not planning on doing anything yet, so.
No, so, but in all kidding aside, so to speak, I did have one of the neighbors that are on Seekonk Street, because they're doing a lot of, well, you live there, so
Yep.
you know, they're getting. I
They
have
put
been
the
out-
gas line into it.
Yeah, they're putting the gas line in, so put the gas line to the street, so, and they're gonna be paving Seekonk Street. So there's a lot of utility prep stuff that's going on, so she, at least initially, was concerned they're starting the project, so that's what kind of triggered in my head.
Yep.
Well, it's a great idea.
Yeah.
But I
that-
think it pairs well with, we saw the schedule for
Actually,
inspections that
There's homeowners already tied into
Bill McGrath and Jamie Bissonette came up with for 35 Pine. And so, maybe we provide kind of a
They just
timeline-based
started to happen.
breakdown on the website so that people are aware, okay, we're now in the groundbreaking phase. You're going to see trucks
just
moving heavy equipment in, they're staging the site, and then, you can always come back to the town's website.
So
to
maybe
see
an
those-
initial mailing, and then
Yes.
directing them to the website. If
Yes.
they want to log.
Yeah,
That wouldn't even need to be a condition, that could just be something the town implements.
correct,
Right.
correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I do know, no, it's good practice. I know that it's specifically in Lakeland Hills. Only because, well, and I think in part from the neighbors,
I didn't get, I live on Seacon Street, I didn't get any, well, I've been away, but I didn't get anything in the recent mail regarding, about the work that's going to be going on, like, to complete for Seekonk. But I did see the, I guess the flashing lights and the sign going in saying that, from this date to this date, try use another route, so.
That was probably utility work.
To where?
It was probably just the utility, so that's
that what
probably
it
the
had
gas
on
line. It
They
wasn't related to-
ground the road today.
yeah, no,
they're
they're,
getting ready to repave it.
they're getting ready to.
Oh, yeah, it's all parked on Brookside right now. They parked it tonight, so.
So is there still limited access there, or no?
There is slightly limited access, but they're only doing like half of Seekonk Street. They're not doing the whole of Seekonk Street from like Campbell Street all the way to pretty much where Lakeland Hills is. And then there's a section that I think they're doing the rest. But there's, yeah, I don't know.
I have,
It's kind of be, they almost killed us when they were doing the gas line.
I know, I
I
remember.
mean, nobody could get to the farm.
Not only that, it impacted the garbage pickup. We have we have companies that come and pick up our trash, and I had like I think a period of 2 or 3 weeks of
Oh, yeah.
we can't come down and get it. So, yeah. And like I got if I can drive to get home, then you can come to
They
my
did
house
the
and pick up
railroad
my
and the
trash.
gas all in like a
Police
2-year
gotta go.
period. It was nuts.
Huge amount of
Well, that's,
overtime.
yeah.
It was almost 2 years. We had no
Because
use.
I mean, if you're able to access your home and your driveway, then they should be able to access your trash. But they going down one route, they could be going down the other way. So, oh well, I couldn't get there this week. I'll come again in the next 2 weeks. It's I'm gonna have to probably call tomorrow. So we'll see.
Yeah, so at least with the repaving,
We're having issues.
Should be quick. but
yeah.
Hopefully.
Paving gets done so fast.
It should be, we hope.
They may leave it grounded for a while, though, usually.
Yeah, we thought the gas line was gonna be quick.
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
right.
it
Until they hit
Yeah.
the rock.
Or until they got kicked out of the state.
Oh, yeah, well, that was another one.
wasn't. We didn't even
And
get.
then they came back, and then they left, and then they came back.
It would have been nice to get notices from the gas company with the option to tie in. Nothing. There was nothing like that. Yeah. So sometimes when they do work.
Yeah, but I don't think you can, because the gas line only went from Campbell up. It didn't go the other way.
That's funny because on the corner, where that house is across the White House, in the
Yeah.
corner across from the cemetery, it got tied into gas when they bought it and moved in. So I guess I guess our part, like, right?
Yeah, I don't
Doesn't
think,
have
I don't think there's gas from Main Street to realistically the railroad tracks.
No, there isn't, no.
Yeah.
No, but it's in the corner of
Yeah.
Main Street, but then there's the
Yep.
dead space and then over there,
Yeah.
so.
It-
Richard, with all these developments, you mentioned something that the town was going to be short of, which is the water supply. So when we're putting these developments in, do we know how it's going to impact our water supply? Because, we're already having to conserve water all the time.
Yeah, so when each development goes in, they do a water impact analysis through the water, so we do know what the water demand is for each development.
If I'm correct, though, you can't deny the project because of that.
No, it's not deniable, you have to,
You have to come up with more water.
You have to take care, yeah, you gotta find water.
You can't ask them for money to help you build more water supply?
Your town gets bigger, you need bigger schools, you gotta build them.
Right.
No, it's just.
It comes out of their taxes, basically, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
But they do count, so when each development comes in, it goes through the engineering company that works on behalf of the DPW, does a water impact analysis on it to see what the water demand is to account for it. So we've had some, we've had some ups and downs in certain development, well, for example, like Abbeville, at one point, it was 204 units, which dropped down to 64 now. So that, it's kind of up and down flow. But yeah, we also have to, I think it's next year, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but then we have our water withdrawal permit that we have to account for it. So you need water you can't have water, the water is really for consumption and use and cooking and sanitary, but they don't look at water withdrawal for, landscaping, that kind of stuff. So that's why we do a lot of conservation measures on it. So I know some people, different perspective on, but they are doing planning in terms of water supply that goes.
And we may trigger needing another tank at some point, or another source.
Right, well, that's...
Or we have an option, I guess sometimes you can get water from neighboring towns.
Yeah. Yep. That probably needs to become more of a bigger picture, because there are towns that have
Excess
actually-
water?
Well, yeah, Mills has a lot of water, but doing it in an equitable way is kind of tricky. So that's the hard. Gets a little bit.
Isn't that regulated by the MWRA still, to some degree?
That's no DEP.
Oh,
They're-
DEP?
Yeah.
Yeah, MWA should be in the city, right?
Yeah, the city.
right.
Yeah, but the MWRA kind
Well,
of
no,
sets forth
no,
some
it's out here.
standards
Well,
as
okay.
to what you can
Well,
charge.
I know they have a
and
line
how.
that goes all the way to Quabbin, but it's a whole different story.
There are a whole bunch
Walpole.
of communities that buy
Okay.
into
Oh,
the
Brian, so,
SES.
okay.
Oh, yeah.
It goes all the way up to Norwood, yeah.
All the way to Norwood. We got it in Stoughton now. It
Yep,
came through
Walpole has it.
Canton.
Walpole has it.
Yeah, it came through Canton and into Stoughton, so.
Stand corrected.
No, that's all right. It's an interesting discussion because
Yeah.
when Walpole voted for the recreation complex that's
Right.
abuts us, they specifically prohibited us from tying into the water.
What are they doing for water there? I mean, just regular town of Walpole water, or they have a certain water source?
Must have put it
WRA
well.
water.
Okay.
Oh, really?
But they, interesting.
That's
Well, you
tight.
brought up a good point. These 40Bs definitely don't have a small footprint. I mean, it's going against the grain with some of the, I guess, the efficiency strategies that the state's coming up with, and requirements. It's
I mean,
we're providing housing, but we're
I
also
know I'm
gonna have a small.
spitballing here in terms of just generally speaking, but it could come down to where some of these developments might have to buy capacity, water from another town and, flows through Norfolk, but if we don't have the supply, it takes to try to locate a well that has ample supply, and then to permit it and get it up and running takes years. So, there may be situations where we could end up where, if you want to do a development, you need water, you might have to acquire it from an adjacent town and just build,
Through our system.
yeah, through our system.
Dover
also-
Sherburne has a private water system. It's privately held by a corporation.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm wondering if, like these guys were talking about privatizing transportation routes, if that's gonna come back onto the market, you know. I got a spring, I'll start selling it, I don't care.
But there's all those requirements too, though, you know.
Oh, I
make sure
know.
Everything's
It's
tested.
crazy.
You know.
But I think it's important to point out too, the MWRA is a service provider,
Okay.
right? And so there is opportunity for a town to buy in,
Okay.
right? And it's just at what cost and at what logistics.
What price?
I'm not sure if Walpole really is in with the MWRA.
They are.
Because they have a lot of, so they don't have the water shortages anymore?
No, well, you still, so even though you buy into the MWRA is only providing like over and above what you can already, you still have to be providing town wells, town flow too. And so the MWRA is not, all the water's not coming out of the Quabbin. It's coming from, so Walpole's putting water into the system as much as taking it out. And so water's being fed all over, and
Conservation will still be important too, because the more you
Correct.
need from them, the more it's gonna cost.
Correct.
It's important to also recognize
it's gonna be
that
more conservation
it's
in
not just
reality.
coming from the Quabbin.
Yeah.
There are
And the
points that
MWRA puts
Charles-
all kinds of standards
All
on.
the other Charles, right.
And if the town of Norfolk buys into the MWRA on water, the sewer line actually becomes under that same umbrella. And so if the town has a new sewer project and they start doing that, that could be impacted by the MWRA because they're coming in for your water. But they're gonna say, hey, this, and this. And they start to regulate how much you can charge, what you can't charge, and all those kind of things. Whereas without them, you can kind of still be regulated under the DEP criterias, but not necessarily under MWRA. So it's a convoluted thing, but it affects a lot. So it's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing.
It's actually a good segue to the last item on the agenda.
Master planning.
Master plan.
Master plan.
We need
We have a
streetlights.
master plan.
You do,
Streetlights.
the town does.
Lights
Oh, yeah.
lights are still out since December, a good number of them.
They made some progress, didn't they, or?
Not really, one or two. So I'm a little disappointed.
Did the
And some
site
other ones, I have new ones I added to the list.
Uh-oh.
Did the site that I provided?
I didn't get a chance to do that. That's
Okay.
my next thing is, I mean, maybe as a resident, I should just make my own contribution to just going to Eversource and say, look.
That's how I had the
Yeah,
success,
right,
so.
yeah. You know, because it's just, you know, I mean, and the master plan may incorporate the fact that we need to switch to LEDs anyway throughout the town, which should be a cost savings to begin with. But I think the master planning should include things like, and again, that's what this is about, that we had a plan at one time to say lights should be at like intersections, they had curves, road dips or something like that, or dead ends, and we never finished it. We started making progress and we kind of stopped. So I was a little disappointed, but that's good for master planning to bring that up again, just as sidewalks are, you know, we've talked about sidewalk
Correct, yep.
connectivity.
So on the 23rd of September, it'll be virtual. I'll send you out the link to master planning if you want to join in. We did, through the state, there's a community compact, which is a program for grants. So the town, we applied this year and we got $40,000 towards master planning. I did put in a capital request for a town appropriation to help with the master planning, but so we're starting just to gear up with some training, different ideas, how to go about doing it. So there's one on the 23rd of September if you want to. I'll send you the link.
Okay.
That's a great idea.
So you want to join in, and you can get some ideas in terms
Yeah,
of.
there was one that we.
Yeah, and you were on the last one.
Good, it was
Yeah.
very informative.
Yeah,
so.
you know, it came up like the day after I saw the email, so I
Yeah.
got you, right, yeah.
No, that one was really good
No,
too.
it was good. It was more of a, how do you get people involved into the master
Yeah.
plan so everybody kind of owns it, but that's definitely needed.
And-
It's no good to have a master plan if nobody understands it or cares.
Right.
Right.
I wonder too, there's a basis is that we have a master plan, right? Somehow that serves as some sort of base to all this, and, you know, what do you need to improve? What do you know, because again, just having been involved with the road safety, like I said, I'd like to see us continue making sure in these plans, we're talking about our sidewalk expansions, again, whatever way it's possible to get done.
15.
Yeah, right.
And the lights.
My
it just seems like,
neighborhood.
I'm falling behind here.
Yeah, so in terms of the master plan, we have the last one was 2007, so that'll, reflect back on what was discussed then, some of the other plans, and then put, the one thing that we did, obviously, David was on there too with the training, was to actually have after the plan is done, have a implementation committee. So it's really a committee that would follow the plan afterwards to monitor and make sure these different things that are discussed to be implemented and addressed, there's a follow-through on them. So that's certainly, I think that's been definitely a bigger piece of the more recent plans that have been going on over the past, recent, probably 10 years, of having, before coming here, when I worked in Dedham, they did a master plan that was done in '09, and they had an implementation committee that was seated afterwards, kind of a cross-section, and they met, and then they kind of, over each different topical area that needed to be, see what was, was it implemented, was it not implemented, where it was, and they had a very high success rate in terms of implementing, because there was kind of oversight in terms of, to make sure who needs to do that and so forth, which is critical for the next plan to make sure that.
So on the master plan, then, you cover things like utility, water,
There's
sewers.
utilities in there, yeah.
What about the railroad that is about to close off 115 when they try and put that second set of lines in? Do we know what's going to happen then, and how are they going to do the platform for the other side? Is that part of our jurisdiction?
It's MBTA, but we would reach out to see if we can gather what the proposed.
Because they're definitely getting ready, because they got the line sitting there.
Yeah, they stopped.
Yeah,
they stopped.
they stopped
Park
funding.
Street
It's sitting there
is.
somewhere.
It's not. They haven't continued past Park Street though. They've done some leveling.
But they've got the line components sitting there.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
They do. Yeah.
something-
So
something- stopped a little
They
while
cut
ago.
the road and they've moved the control system out of the way. So
Yeah.
someone ought to know when they're going to do that, because we're going to have to divert the traffic for a significant amount of time, probably over that bridge and back onto 115.
I will tell you that I reached out personally just for my own knowledge and edification. I had very little luck, although I was given numbers to call and job,
Right.
supervisors and project managers. The MBTA has a weekly, you could call it visitor, or like info session that is held at South Station. And one of the representatives from Keolis or the MBTA is there to answer any questions that anybody has on, I believe the project is called, the double rail, and then they also have safety upgrades that are happening specifically on the Franklin line.
they've got that. Yeah, they've got this.
I personally couldn't get to South Station because we were talking mid-COVID, and no thank you, so
You can't get there on a normal day.
I had tried, right, I had tried
Kind
to.
of defeat the purpose
Except
of
on the
driving
train.
too, so.
Except on the train. It's
Right.
the only way to get to South Station.
So I'd pay to get there
Yeah.
and then get no answers. So I had tried to reach somebody by phone and was sort of stalemated in that sense as well. So, but there are obviously ways that you can try to get an answer on that. But I have had no such luck, just as a resident. So.
Just an FYI, our representative, Sean, has been successful in getting in touch with them in the past. And Constitute has had a couple of meetings with them regarding their I don't know, it's not so recent work, but
Yeah, that was the past work, but, yeah.
weekend service has resumed. We're still in no-horn zone. Hopefully it remains that way. But, there's been some, I guess, a couple people.
That second line's supposed to be a freight line, from what I understood.
I thought it was, I understood it was a
No.
backup
No,
or something.
it's so they can go in and out without having to stop.
Right, they wouldn't have to do the.
It's a
They have to do the
logistical-
switch,
It's
yeah.
it's completely.
It was in Walpole for the
logistical.
longest time.
Is it Walpole or
They
Norfolk?
they had to switch over there, yeah.
Yeah, so
You had to wait
when
for
it
the
exits
outcoming train.
Walpole, it enters into a single track.
Right,
And so the improvement existed
Makes it
from
safer.
Walpole outbound to Franklin.
right.
And the reason for it that I was told was that it's a logistical improvement to decrease delays on the rail.
Right.
Because pre-existing the second track, if something dies on the rail, they can't move anything around it. So this provides the ability for them to switch off and pass, but that's, I'm under the impression that there was no intention of it being inbound, outbound. So like Norwood, for example, has a platform on both sides.
Yes.
One is inbound, one is outbound.
Yep.
I do not think that that's happening here.
Oh.
It was just a way to bypass what you said,
Right.
malfunctions
Right.
or delays.
Yep.
So that's how it was presented to us at the meeting, I don't know.
Okay, I was at another meeting, and they presented it as possibly being able to connect Franklin,
Okay.
the Cabot Park or whatever it is up
Right,
there,
yeah.
Forge Park.
Forge Park, Forge Hill.
Being able to connect it to Worcester, and that was through Walpole. So that was how they're gonna get,
But that wouldn't impact Norfolk.
it goes down, it goes from Franklin through Norfolk into Walpole, and then it goes out to on the Worcester line, because there's a Worcester line going out of Walpole. A
Okay.
connector to the Worcester line.
I was thinking about the Foxborough, the line that goes to the
Yeah,
stadium.
no,
I
that's
was
a
thinking
different
that
line, yeah. So that was, and Waste Management was actually looking at a facility to do train trash out and beyond. That was their big thing, so.
When we get into the master plan, we would definitely.
Yeah.
I only
So
asked the question. It sounds like it's complicated.
It
I'm
is,
surprised- I'm
I
really
think they would use it for that, and I
I'm
think
really
they-
surprised
for-
that they're not going, from a safety point of view, the two lines make more sense.
Yeah.
Because then they don't have to have these special, issues. And they were using both lines in Walpole when I went in on the train 2 weeks ago.
Uh-huh.
Right,
Definitely.
right.
There was an inbound and outbound in Walpole now, and they didn't have that before.
Right, I mean, it doesn't, it's non-continuous at this point.
No, it stops right
It
at
stops,
that
yeah.
Right,
crossing. Yes, at the moment.
right.
Well, it will be double track to Franklin. I mean, that's.
Yeah, they've
Doesn't mean they
been,
wouldn't
they've been
change that,
working
yeah,
in
with-
Franklin.
Well,
too, so they are
the
still-
reason I'm bringing that up, because if they have to put that track in, when are they going to do it? It's going to impact all those, convenience stores, the dry cleaners, and everybody else, the bank, and the traffic's going to be like hell.
They realistically, like on Seekonk Street, if I remember correctly, they only shut that down for,
Well, I can tell you that this one was done through the night.
yeah, through the night, and it was 2
Because
weekends,
we
I
could hear
think.
it,
Okay.
and it was pretty obstructive.
Yeah.
The machinery that they used to kind
Yeah.
of groom the path was very loud, and that was what prompted me to call.
Oh.
Because I was curious how long this was going to happen
Yeah.
for. And so, again, really not getting the answers, but it was done overnight. It was, they stopped train service so that it wasn't impacting. Now, I don't know if COVID would have any kind of impacts moving forward, and if this is something that they would be able to do during the day now, because I'm not positive that they've resumed a
Would have been nice
full
if we could do
schedule,
it
but.
last year.
Right.
There was no train.
No train.
But bottom line, they've stopped doing it at Park Street. That's where they've.
I know.
On one side of Park Street, I see the two tracks, and else I don't see the other track.
Yeah, they're done with Seekonk right now. I can-
Oh, yeah, they're done with Seekonk. It's,
Yeah, they
I
got
mean,
that
they couldn't come from Walpole all the way to Seekonk Street in reality, but they can't go to the center.
I have noticed a difference. I think when I called before, I was able to get in touch with someone. They also stabilized the existing track. I do feel less impact. Like, I'm not that far from the train tracks, but I'm not that close either. But I used to feel it going by, and I don't feel it anymore. I used to feel it a little bit going by, and I don't feel it anymore.
Well, my windows still rattle,
They still do,
and
huh?
I'm quite a ways away.
I
But then
know.
again, my windows are 200 years old, so.
But
I won't bring that up again. That's cost us another 15 minutes.
Well, I will say, so transportation is part of the master plan. So,
All right, good.
All right, so.
Okay,
We're
good.
putting in a monorail,
So-
didn't you see?
Yeah, wait till we go.
And with that,
Yeah, that was a nice short
done.
update on
Thank
top,
you.
and then we have to decide if we want to debate some.
Yes, we had 2 hearings, and if you want to deliberate tonight, we certainly could, or we can wait.
Well, I think we already have a suggestion, we wait on the, what was that one, Populatic?
Populatic. Well, actually, even yes, on Populatic.
Right, but the Shire Street one, I don't know if there's a lot we need to discuss on
I
that.
think the Shire Street one is kind of dependent upon the Conservation Commission, isn't it?
No,
that's
that's
Oh,
the
no, not the
monorail.
Shire one, the
Because
the
the
first one, the 5.
Yeah, if you want.
That's what I'm saying, like, I mean, I like your suggestion, we wait on Populatic, right?
Populatic, yeah.
Right? We already know we can't, the first one, we're not ready to talk about
Right.
that one.
Right.
But this Shire Street, I mean,
Sure.
You could deliberate it.
Let's
seems like
get into
it's
Shire
open
Street.
and shut, right?
That's our,
Should
yeah,
be.
that's our monorail of the future, for lack of a better term, right?
Am I writing this one up, or do I have an administrator?
No, it sounded.
Unfortunately, right.
All right, so
Looks like another
14 Shire Drive.
I'm kidding, I'm just kidding.
It does now.
Yeah.
Chasing the money at this point.
This was some federal money.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was upset a little bit, but.
It's some transportation money from somewhere.
I did send it. You can tease it. But I reminded
We have to do a finding of fact on
Right.
this, all right?
Around here, anyway.
I mean, a finding of fact, they're an existing business,
It's
right?
existing business, it's,
It's a special permit.
special permit,
Special permit request to create a specific facility for research and development.
research and development.
And we can describe that as what he said was 60 feet span with 3 vertical columns.
That's correct.
Did he give us a height?
You said it was 20 feet
Said
to the top of it?
20 or 25 feet, I can't
20
remember.
to the top.
Yeah.
It was lower than the building.
Lower than the building.
Plus or minus 21 feet above grade.
Yep, there you go.
Solar powered.
Solar-powered battery,
No noise.
A noise equivalent of an electric bike.
right, no,
It's not, I mean, it's not stationary, it's mobile. I mean, they're able to put it up and take it down, so it's not
Yeah.
permanent fixture.
Well, it will be.
Well, it is a permanent.
it's a
is?
permanent thing,
Yeah.
it has a,
Permanent
Yeah.
temporary.
They finished demonstrating.
It's temporarily permanent.
Okay.
Well, we said before, we're not going to sit here and put conditions on them taking it down at some point, right?
no,
So,
Doesn't make
so we're
sense.
basically giving them a special permit to construct it.
that's
It's
right.
gonna become a piece of art somewhere in the future,
Possibly,
historical.
possibly. That's the only reason why I asked earlier, if for some reason they avoided the.
Hang some wind
business,
chimes
did they
from
Take
it.
that down.
Right,
That's
the
all-
police
somebody else would
officers
probably
at
come in and
the
take it down, so they don't
This
need
guy
that
can take it
anymore,
down.
but.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
He's capable of taking it down if he needs
Is there any
to.
concern with people like stopping
He's
to
not gonna
gawk
be
at
there.
it and like traffic issues?
How many people go by that, in that area
Well,
anyway?
when people find out that like, you know, foreign dignitaries
Well,
are
try to
coming
cost
up.
them the police station too, so they can,
He can monitor
They
it.
could burn.
That might be a question for the police,
You know,
because if they
the
have
worst
special
crack
visitors
houses are
coming
across
in
from the police
from
station
different
too,
lands,
so.
that might be a concern of the.
Used to manage a couple of them in Attleboro.
If we, just thinking out of the box, if we got to the point where that became an
a
issue.
problem, right?
An attraction or
But
selling
maybe-
souvenirs
maybe
here in
that's
Norfolk.
something in the conditions where like if
Talk about
there's
road traffic
an
issues.
uptick in, you know, visibility, I don't know. Or traffic because people are coming to see it.
How do you condition that?
Yeah,
I think the police would do, they put up signs and somehow control the traffic in some way.
It's not for
I'm not really,
exhibition
you really think
purposes.
that'd be a traffic
It's not a high,
issue?
it's not a high.
It's for research and development.
Yeah.
It's not
Three steel
for,
beams.
it's
Exhibition.
not for public
Yeah, I
Right.
think if you see
viewing.
it- I think if you see it once, you'll be
Show
tired.
of hands, how many
Yeah,
people
right.
are
It
gonna
won't
drive
move
past
very
this
far.
thing once it's up?
Oh, I'm gonna
Right?
go, I'm gonna go
But if
ask
it
for a
was 3 times over, I'm not
demonstration,
sure.
come on.
Yeah.
It's gonna move up and 60 feet and back again.
So they own the building, it's an existing business.
Yep,
It's on their property.
it's on their property, it's not illuminated.
No.
It's not. They got no abutters, other than the police station.
There's a couple other
Well,
butters.
there were no abutters that
companies.
spoke against
Yeah.
it.
Against it. Right.
They're all commercial, right?
Yeah, no abutters,
Yeah.
no abutters spoke against it.
That's fine.
Would not
Or-
negatively impact, you know. It's on the backside, isn't it? It's on the,
Well,
It's on the street side.
It's
It
visible.
is?
you'll be able to see it.
oh,
They kind of own a whole
I think it's
corner.
probably-
Yeah, it's like a
Yeah,
big
right there.
corner.
She's showing
It'll be
it.
right in front of that wall there.
so that's the front?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So this is Sharon
it's near the
Ave.
main entrance.
Okay.
I would say the main entrance is at the corner. There's a curve up there.
The main entrance is up
Yeah, right
here,
there.
right around the bend.
You see the grass strip there? That's
I was
it'll
gonna
be right in there.
Maybe move us to finish the road. Another project we have to work on, but, because that road is in,
I mean, certainly the use, like you said, is within the general purpose and intent of the bylaw. There's no detrimental to the neighborhood.
No.
Unless it becomes a tourist attraction, I don't know.
Can we go over this quick?
Yeah, sure.
It's not unless they're running along 128.
Yeah.
Right, so going over the criteria, right, obviously, you know, in harmony and general purpose, I mean, it's research and development in the commercial area.
Correct.
They'll have adequate and appropriate facilities will be provided, obviously. Would not be detrimental, as you said just a moment ago, or offensive to adjoining zoning districts, which is not the case, it's commercial in a commercial district. The produce will not cause undue traffic congestion in the immediate area.
Not
We
really.
don't think at this point.
Yeah,
It's inside that fence, so,
Yeah.
right?
right.
So-
So I guess in that case, we assume it wouldn't, you know, I mean, you know, outside of a curiosity.
Now we'll have
maybe,
15, you know, news cams up there.
Yeah, there'll be events that they have to handle, but that's, I think, they have to just make sure that, you know, police will be involved.
Santa's attraction.
Right.
It'll be a
Bus,
media
tour bus.
attraction.
Obviously, they have a proper site plan submitted,
From
and the use, well, in this case, when I say the use and
Field
purpose are
trip.
consistent with the master plan, I mean, obviously, the master plan addresses the fact that we do development and commercial business, so all answers are yes here for the criteria.
Yes.
To go to Plainville.
Thank you.
We had that whole campus in Plainville for a survey.
I have it online.
It's now a golf course.
So we're not recommending any special conditions.
Yeah, because it's not like a construction where they need to watch lighting.
No?
It's not debris that have to be removed, I don't think, right?
I mean, you could, to Stephanie's point, if you wanted to put something there in terms of, you know,
Special events would have to have police details, or, that's what you're thinking about, those special events or high-traffic events, I don't know what you want to call it.
I think in terms of,
I mean, they have a fence up.
Yeah.
There's nothing that says.
Yeah, they have on-site parking there.
Yeah, yeah.
To
They'll
accommodate.
be inside,
Right.
yeah. Inside the land.
I don't know if we can condition them to do really anything special.
you know, the town maybe monitor traffic over time, and they, I don't know,
But
you want the answer, I could come up with a condition.
He's gonna build it first.
well, let me know if you want, if you think I don't know how to word a condition for the traffic.
I don't have it at the moment, but
Okay, yeah, well, you can give it to me in time.
I'll give it to you in
right,
time.
Right, because I think in the end, obviously,
One legitimate thing, so we can make a point, traffic shouldn't interfere with the police station.
Right.
I'm sure they'll say, they'll take it into their own hands, but.
I'm not concerned about it because of the police station and stuff.
Right.
Plenty of
Well, I
room
think
there.
too that there are commercial vehicles that are trying
two
to operate their businesses as well. So if you start to
Yeah.
impact those
Their address
businesses,
is
that
in
could,
Sharon Drive.
Right.
that could be an issue to some of the abutters.
There's two ways to get
I
out.
don't want to, you know,
can we actually say any?
I don't want to tattle on the police, but they actually generate a lot of traffic. Well, no, I mean, they have training, I don't know if you.
No, I know, I
Yeah,
understand.
So it's kind of,
I had to drive up there to go get my LTC.
Yeah,
yeah,
I know.
yeah.
We've all-
No, I think we could put something.
I'm just thinking, maybe also, I don't know, follow up. I'm just thinking about
I'm
something
fine
related
with
to
it.
special events or anything that may be increasing traffic, you know, what would they do as a condition?
That mileage
Do you
is
notify the
not-
police that proper barrier, proper traffic controls are in place?
They say,
Well, I
they
don't know if they have
claimed
one
that
that's
they
site
were all
plan
in
now,
place before.
if all parking has to be on site, I don't know.
They're just
They were in
hanging,
the
their
middle.
biggest, the biggest
talking
hang
traffic and
one
parking.
hanging, 150.
Yeah.
Are they allowed to park on
They're-
Shire?
they're
Cannot
all-
create excessive
No, during a
traffic
business day,
today,
though, can you just
I
park on Shire Drive?
Speed.
There's nothing,
Immediate.
Yeah, I don't think there is, I don't think there is.
it's pretty wide, too.
It could be, it could be a day when you.
I mean, maybe just put a placeholder, we can
No
come up with some, I'll
placeholder,
put some
yeah,
language.
yeah, so it's
And then
related
send it to
to,
the board to review.
Sure.
You'll review it all
fine, very
before you
good.
sign it.
It's next ride.
Okay, yeah, so that's the only condition I think we can apply here.
They don't want people to see.
No standing or idling vehicles, signage must be on the edge.
But that's something that the town can implement anytime they want, right?
Actually, it's R&D. I don't think they're having visitors come because they don't want anybody to see
I
it.
think the suggestion is word gets out and people are just curious.
Oh, yeah.
I think their own events they'll maintain properly.
Well, this was a public hearing. If anybody was watching us, they all know now.
Sure.
On a side note, again, younger, when I was 24 plus years ago, I grew up a town over from where they had the Amityville Horror House.
Oh, you
So
did?
that became an unbelievable traffic nightmare every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Because people just wanted to see the house from that movie, which really wasn't even filmed there.
Yeah.
But the house did look a little bit like it. And you couldn't get up and down those streets at all for years on a Friday, Saturday night.
Especially in October.
Yeah, it was quite an interesting show of, why were we going here? I couldn't even imagine why we were driving, but we did it like everybody else. And I said, wow, why am I doing this? And it was like 20, 30 years ago. I can't remember how that.
I could craft, something to cover, something.
Hey, Richard, it is an R&D project at the moment. I don't think we need to be
Yeah, but
really overly concerned.
No, this is-
I think it's, no, I get it, yeah.
They don't want people there until they get it really going, and that might be a year or...
And they'd probably be building it somewhere where it's visible.
Right.
I think it's just become, it's there. It's
Right.
eventually going to be, it's there. There it
They're
is.
gonna
It's
try
there all the
their
time.
ideas out.
Yep.
Right. But anyway, like I said, this is one of those
This is the old
straightforward,
days.
special permits. They presented what they have. We can approve
Moving
it.
people from the parking lot.
And we'll put one condition possibly on it.
Want to vote this tonight?
Yes, I think we should. So I guess we, let me do this. So I make a motion that we approve the special permit for Island Lighting and Power Systems Incorporated for a special permit pursuant, I'll go for the, to allow the erection of a scaled-down prototype of a monowheel-like system as presented. The property is located at 14 Sherwood Drive, Assessors Map 18, Block 69, Lot 4 to 7, in the Commercial Zoning District. Need a second? Eddie? Oh, okay, any discussion? Go ahead. Any discussion?
Is there a second?
We first should ask for any discussion, I guess, right?
No, you're second,
You
then
second.
discussion.
Okay, fine.
I second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Aye.
Aye. Do you need one of those votes?
No.
Roll call vote?
Roll call. Okay, fine. So unanimously approved by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us.
Excellent. I'll
Very
work
good.
with you to tune up the,
We have one
I
set
don't-
of minutes, too.
Do you have minutes too?
Just one set from
It's after 10 o'clock.
July 21st.
Wasn't there a rule we're going to keep these meetings at 10 o'clock?
I actually,
Is that?
I actually read the minutes. They looked good.
No later than
So if
3
you-
hours?
If you have an opportunity, have them out to Old Populatic.
Now we're gonna have a traffic
We'll have a
problem.
traffic-
If we go down to Old Populatic,
Yep, you'll
come
have to
on
walk-
now.
you'll have to walk out
Even
there,
if
but-
just the 5 of us go down there.
Oh, you're right.
I can't turn around.
I gotta
Have
ride
you
on
seen
my
my truck?
bicycle.
Come on.
I'm gonna go on my bicycle.
Yeah, I think you might.
It's on my bike route.
I'll ride a cow. I might
It
do
is.
better.
Yeah. We can do it.
This
We'll
meeting
work it out.
basically just, it wrapped up some of the
Yeah.
waivers
The other
and
one bonus
condition
meeting.
changes.
That we brought up and Norfolk, of course. That's the first place.
Okay, I'm okay with making a motion.
Yep, make a motion.
All right, I make a motion that we accept the minutes for the ZBA meeting of July 21st, 2021.
Is there a second?
You need a second?
Need a second?
Your date.
Second.
Okay.
All those in favor? Or any
Aye.
discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye,
Yeah. And you could second, you were present.
I was.
Okay. I'll sign it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Good.
The,
What, just that one set of minutes?
Yeah.
Thank you.
so the one thing that
Thank you.
I have a hard time sometimes remembering
All right.
is they're coming
All right,
first.
so no more minutes?
No more minutes, and like I said, we're not going to deliberate any other.
No.
Okay.
Old business, the only, we have a new member, Chris Metcalf. Again, we introduced him early on.
Get into the
Thank you
weeds.
for joining
before-
us. And our next meeting is October 20th at 7 o'clock.
Okay, but what if...
September 7th is a special meeting.
September 7th is a special meeting.
what's that?
September 7th is a special meeting, but our
Executive session.
our open meeting is October 15th.
October 20th.
October 20th. And this is Stephanie's last meeting, I think, with us.
Oh, boy.
So I want to thank you and thank you for everything. You got us going here, and Wish you well, you'll do well.
Thanks. I appreciate
Thank you.
it. I appreciate
You can always come visit.
Yeah, and I'm
Don't
not
mind.
going far.
Okay.
Just going to the basement. Moving on down.
Moving on down.
Yeah, but you get to go to the front of the building.
That's
Town
right.
clerk's office. Well, good luck. Thank you.
Good luck.
And then if you,
Someone's
I'll
like-
send out
Yeah, she's going to the
send out an
assistant town
email
clerk.
in terms of maybe having a meeting with town council.
That'd be wonderful, yeah.
Just think of some ideas.
Yep.
So.
And I'll thank Andrew from NCTV for helping us out tonight.
Andrew, thank you.
I know, he's been very quiet back there.
Andrew was asleep. Don't let him with you.
If you wanted to do that meeting virtually, you could. I mean, but if you want to be more personal, we could maybe better.
Let me
have
make,
it.
we should make a motion to close the hearing. He wants to
Right.
turn it off.
Right.
So I make a motion that we close the hearing for September 1st, 2021.
I second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Andrew.
Hey everybody, my name is Joe Unruh with Water and Wetlands. We're the lake management company working on Mirror Lake. Doug had first reached out to me maybe a month ago, so a little bit late. So of course we would have loved to have met with the committee earlier on